nunca se le va a olvidar que ustedes van a inspirar a otras personas jóvenes, las cuales están llegando el camino que ustedes han tomado. Señor presidente, con su permiso.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to City Hall. Welcome to
Buenos
Council
días
Chambers,
a
and welcome
todos.
to the meeting of
Gracias
the
por
Los
venir aquí
Angeles City
al
Council for today, Wednesday,
ayuntamiento.
November
Ahora,
2nd, 2005.
aquí el día de
The
hoy
City
es el
Council
2
meets
de
every
noviembre del
Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday
2005 y
at 10
estamos
a.m.
aquí el
Meetings
día
are
de
open
hoy.
to the
Empezamos
public,
a
and we
las
do
10 de
invite
la
you to join us.
mañana.
For members of the public unable to attend council meetings, we can be viewed live on your cable station,
Ahora
channel
puede
35.
usted
We
poner
can
su
also be
canal
viewed live via
35. También nos
webcast from the
pueden
city's
ver ahora
homepage
aquí en la
or heard via
página
council phone.
electrónica o también vía
Colleagues, the time is
telefónica.
now
Ahora nuestros
10:20
colegas la
a.m.
hora,
and we
ahora es
have
las
9 members
10:20.
present, one
Entonces
shy of a quorum.
tenemos 9 de
But,
los
we
concejales,
also have
uno
a
no está
special
presente, pero
presentation
también tenemos una
scheduled for
presentación
today. Let me
especial
recognize
que está
Councilmember
fijada el día de hoy.
Cárdenas
Vamos a
for a
reconocer
presentation.
al concejal Cárdenas por su presentación del día de hoy.
Are we ready?
Estamos
Thank you,
listos
Council
ahora.
President
Gracias,
Padilla.
presidente
I'd like to
Padilla.
ask
Ahora
a
me
very
gustaría
special person here in
pedirles
Los
a una
Angeles to
persona
please
muy
come forward,
especial que por
Camilo
favor se
Cruz.
acerque ahora aquí, señor Camilo Cruz.
How you doing?
¿Cómo está usted? Muy bien, buenos días.
Yeah, you've done this
Usted
before.
ha hecho esto antes, usted ha estado aquí
We just want to
anteriormente.
thank
Simplemente
Camilo
queremos
Cruz for the
agradecer a
wonderful
Camilo
work he's been
Cruz
doing as a
por el
community
trabajo
relations
maravilloso que ha
advisor
hecho como
for the
un
Los Angeles
consejero
County
de
Superior Court since
Unidos para el Tribunal
2001.
Superior de Los
Before joining the
Ángeles desde el
Superior
2000,
Court,
antes de
Camilo Cruz
ir
served
al
the 5th City
Tribunal
Council
Superior,
District of the City
era
of Los
cerca del
Angeles
concejal
as
Quinto,
senior
me siento
policy
en Los
advisor.
Ángeles.
He
Así
currently
que pues,
resides
en
in
este
Cypress
momento él
Park
vive en
in the
Cypress
neighborhood
Park, en
and
la
also the
vecindad, y
First City
también
Council
el
District.
primer
And also
distrito
Camilo
concejal.
was,
También
as a community
Camilo
relations
era
advisor for the
como
LA
un
County
consejero
Superior
de
Court,
relaciones.
assist in the creation
Él ayudó a
and
crear
implementation of
y a
community
implementar
outreach programs that
de
seek
los
to
programas
promote
de la
public trust
comunidad
and
que
confidence in the justice system and
promovían
improve
en
access
el
to the justice
sistema de
for diverse
justicia
communities
para
throughout
las
Los Angeles.
comunidades
I'd
diversas
also
por
like
todos
to
Los
take
Ángeles.
this
También me
opportunity
gustaría
to
tomar esta
thank Camilo
oportunidad
because
para
this is an
agradecer a
innovative
Camilo porque
program
este es un
where
programa
basically what
innovativo.
they're doing is they're
Básicamente
taking
lo que están
low-level
haciendo
offenders
están
and
llevando
getting them to do
delitos
community service. But more important than that,
delincuentes
they're educating them and getting them to
pero
understand
más
the
importante que eso
laws
los
of this
cambios,
country, the laws of this community, so they do not become
leyes de
repeat
este país y de
offenders. So
esta
the bottom
comunidad
line
para
is
que
what
no
this
sean
program is doing is
unos
saving,
delincuentes que van a caer lo
time,
mismo. Ahora
saving
están
resources,
ahorrando
but
dinero,
also
tiempo,
saving
recursos,
families.
pero también
Because many studies have shown that when people
ayudando
get involved
familias
in
que cuando
crime,
las
there's an
personas se
escalation
involucran
factor.
en
And
el
this is a
delito,
true
este es un
program
programa
that is
que escala y
circumventing
este
that
es un programa
escalation for
que
families
previene
throughout the community.
que
And
las familias
specifically,
por
I
toda la
wanted to
comunidad,
thank Camilo
específicamente yo
because
quería
this
agradecer a
program
Camilo porque
serves
este
the 6th
programa
Council District and
sirve
the
como
2nd
el
Council District, and
del
it served them
sexto
well.
distrito
Camilo's
y
moving
entonces
on,
ahora
and we're going to be
Camilo
sad
va a
to see him
proceder y
go.
ahora nos
But at the same
da
time,
tristeza
he's
verlo
laid a
irse, pero en
foundation
este
and a
pero al
groundwork
mismo
that we're
tiempo
going to be
él
able
puso
to
un
see into
pavimento
the
donde lo
future.
podemos ver en el
But before
futuro.
that, I'd
Pero
like to
antes
ask
de
a
eso,
special person
me
in the
gustaría pedir
community
una
to say
persona
a few
especial en la
words
comunidad para que diga unas
about
cuantas
Camilo
cosas
and the
acerca
wonderful
de
work that he's
Camilo
done for our
y el
community.
trabajo tan
Is Don?
maravilloso que ha hecho para nuestra comunidad. Ahora, señor Don.
You know, council members, there aren't
Ahora,
too many
miembros,
modern-day
consejeros,
heroes
no
that
hay
we can
muchos
associate with the community of Van
héroes
Nuys.
que podemos
Camilo
nosotros
Cruz
asociar como
fits that
la
role
comunidad.
perfectly.
Ahora, Camilo
Camilo's
Cruz
been involved with the
llena
community
ese
courts
papel
for the last
perfectamente.
6
Él ha estado
years,
involucrado con la comunidad
1999.
por los últimos 6 años,
What
de
he's done for our
1999. Lo
Central
que ha
Business
hecho
District
en
in the court
nuestro
area around Van Nuys City Hall
ahí por el
has
ayuntamiento
been
de Van Nuys
outstanding.
ha
And we
sido
are going to miss him.
maravilloso, lo vamos a
And
extrañar
we're here
y estamos
specifically
aquí
to wish him
específicamente
well
para
in
desearle
everything
que le
that he
vaya muy
does
bien
and
en
nothing
todo
but
lo
good
que haga
fortune.
y nada
Camilo,
más
thank
que
you
una muy
very
buena
much on
fortuna.
behalf of our
Camilo,
community.
muchísimas gracias por ayudar a nuestra comunidad.
And with that, Camilo, now's
Y con
your
eso,
2
Camilo,
minutes
ahora
of fame. You get to
tiene
say a
sus
few
2
words
minutos de fama.
in
Usted dice unas
response to all the
cuantas
wonderful
palabras
things we've said
en
about you,
respuesta
and
a
it's
todas
all
las cosas
true.
maravillosas que dimos de usted y todo es
Well, thank
verdad.
you very
Ahora,
much,
muchísimas
Councilman
gracias,
Cárdenas, and thank you, City
concejal
Council,
Cárdenas, y
for
ahora a
allowing me
todos
this
por
time.
permitirme
I
este
just wanted to
momento a
say
mí.
real quick, I'm
Simplemente
very
quise
kind
ser
of humbled today by this award.
muy
I
humilde
just
por
think of this
esta
doing my job, you know.
celebración y simplemente
But
estoy
I
haciendo
do
mi trabajo, pero
appreciate
sí
the
agradezco
recognition
la
and in
vez
turn
que
want
me
to
han
recognize
reconocido y
the
también
man
quiero
to my right here,
reconocer el
Councilman
señor
Cárdenas,
aquí a
for
mi
being
derecha, el concejal
a
Cárdenas,
champion of
por
the Van Nuys
haber
Superior
sido
Court. I mean, he came in
un
and basically
campeón
helped
aquí
us
en el Tribunal Comunal
resuscitate the
de Van
program.
Nuys.
It was losing
Resucitó el
funding, and he
programa,
came in
estaba
and basically saved the
perdiendo
day for us. So
fundamento y
thanks to
simplemente
Tony
no
for
lo
his help
ahorró.
in the
Simplemente
community.
gracias a Tony por su
Just real
apoyo en
quick,
la
I do
comunidad. Ahora,
want to spend
muy
a couple minutes
rápidamente
talking about
quiero
what is
pasar un par de
community
minutos
court. What is
lo que que es el
collaborative
Tribunal de
justice and
Comunicación, lo
restorative
que
justice.
es restaurar la
Collaborative
justicia.
justice is
La
when
justicia colateral
agencies come
es cuando las
together and
agencias
work
se
on a
juntan
problem
y trabajan en un
that they share
problema el
mutually.
cual ellos
Agencies, the
comparten
city, the county, the
mutuamente.
state comes
Y
together
ahora la ciudad y
and
el
working
Estado
in
se
unison to
juntan
help
y
address a
trabajamos
community
a
concern.
tratar de
Not too many
llegar
times
a
do we get a
nuestros-
chance to
no
do that, you know?
solamente,
I think we
muchas
get
veces
caught
podemos
up
hacer
in
eso ahora. Muchas veces
notions
nosotros
of jurisdiction. That's the state,
tenemos
that's the city,
esto
that's the
dice la
county.
ciudad, este es el
But community
condado,
court's
pero
done
los
a
tribunales
great thing to
el
bring us
tribunal hace
together
muchas cosas para
and to
traernos juntos
basically
ahora y
celebrate
básicamente para
collaboration
celebrar
in hopes
colaboración
of
y
rectifying issues and
esperanza de
problems. So
volver
I really
a
appreciated
rectificar
the
problemas y
opportunity to
asuntos.
work on
Ahora me
that
da
type
gracias
of
por la
justice
oportunidad de trabajar en ese
project.
tipo de justicia,
Community
ese
court also
proyecto.
restores the community. Basically what it does is
Tribunal
it
comunitario también restaura
brings
la comunidad.
quality of
Lo que
life
hace
defenders,
es
people
que
committing the sort of
las
petty
personas que
crimes in our
han
neighborhoods,
cometido delitos
and
leves en
gives
nuestros
them the
vecindarios y les da la
opportunity to
oportunidad a
rectify
esas
their
personas de poder
situations,
ratificar las
brings them
situaciones,
opportunities
les trae
to go to
oportunidades a
school,
ellos para ir
get
a la
substance abuse
escuela, a por ejemplo,
counseling,
agarrar
as well as
consejería
puts
de
them back
abuso
in the
de
neighborhood where they
sustancias,
commit
los pone otra
offenses
vez en la
so
comunidad
that
donde
they can
cometieron
see
delitos para que
the
ellos
impact
puedan
of
ver el
their
impacto
behavior.
del comportamiento de ellos.
That their activity,
Ahora
their
que las
behavior
actividades,
in
el
the
comportamiento
streets
en las
not only
calles,
harms
no
themselves but
solamente
harms
les
the
daña a ellos
community. And
mismos,
that's
pero
really
también
kind of
daña a
this
la comunidad. Y
concept
eso
of
es como
restorative
un
justice,
concepto
which
de
basically has
buscar la
its
justicia
roots
que
in Native American
básicamente
justice. So
tiene
we want to
sus
say that community
raíces
court and other
en
forms of restorative justice
otros de
are based
justicia
in
están
Native American
basadas en
principles. So
principios de
I
los
do want to say some
americanos.
thank yous to people
Quiero
because
agradecer a las
community court is
la
a
primera vez porque el
collaborative justice
tribunal,
project
la
like I was
corte,
talking about. Candido Mares,
el
Donna
tribunal, por ejemplo, está
Schultz,
hablando de Cándido Manes,
you know, and other
por
members of the
ejemplo,
Van Nuys
otros
community
miembros
who
de la
have worked
comunidad
hard to
de
support
Van
the
Nuys, en los
program.
cuales
The Volunteer Center
respaldan el
of LA,
programa
Jim
ahora
Leahy,
Jim
Cambria
Leahy,
Smith,
Jen
and Lana
Smith
Prince
y
and
Lana
others
Prince y
from that
otros
organization.
de esa
We
organización.
got the City Attorney's Office,
Pudimos
Richard
verla,
Schmidt,
bueno,
Kenny
Richard
Soe, and
Smith,
Bob
Kenny
Orlick,
Soven,
the
Bob
Public
Orlick,
Defender,
el
Bill
Tribunal
Weiss, and
Defensor
Aaron
Bill
Jikian,
Weiss y
the
Aaron Jikian,
LAPD
ahora
Bike Patrol,
el
and Detective
patrulla
Craig Rudy from the
y
area.
detective Craig
My
Rudy del
boss,
área,
Jack Clark, the
también mi
executive officer
jefe
of Superior
Jack
Court, and
Clark,
Dr.
oficial
Brian Morris, who helped
ejecutivo,
in the
Frank
design
Morris,
of
que
the
nos
program.
ayudó a
But I think
diseñar el
most of all, we
programa,
got to remember
pero muchas
a
cosas
former
tenemos que
city
recordarnos
councilman,
ahora
Mike
un
Fear, who
concejal
brought
Mike
community
Fier,
court to
cual
Los
trajo el
Angeles. So I really
tribunal
want to thank him for that.
community court a Los
Anyways,
Ángeles.
let me just
Ahora, de
say real
todas
quick
maneras,
that I
déjame
really
decirles
appreciate the fact that
rápidamente,
I've
yo
been able to work
agradezco
on
el
this
hecho que he
project
podido
again.
trabajar en este proyecto de nuevo.
I think we all
Yo
could agree
pienso
that
que
whether we're the
nosotros,
courts,
con
whether we're
el
the city
tribunal, ya
council,
sea
whether
con
we're
el
the
ciudad
mayor's office,
consejero,
prosecution,
ahora
defense,
la
whatever we
oficina
may be, we all could agree that more
nosotros
needs to be
estamos de
done
acuerdo que
in the
muchas cosas
spirit of
tienen que
restorative
hacerse
and
más para
collaborative
poder restaurar
justice.
esto.
Now, whether we could all agree on how to do things, that's another issue, but I think that shouldn't keep us from trying to do these things in the greatness of the city and this county.
Para poder
So
agrandecer
again,
la ciudad
thank
y
you,
esta
Councilman
comunidad.
Cardenas,
Muchas
and the
gracias,
rest of the city council
consejero
for offering me
Cardenas,
this
también
resolution.
por
Let me just
ayudar a
conclude by saying that I
simplemente
welcome
quiere
any
terminar,
issues,
que digo que
concerns,
bienvenida,
ideas you
hago
might have for
bienvenidas
me
a
that
todos
I
los
could bring
asuntos,
back to the courts
preocupaciones, ideas que
so that
tenemos
we
para
can
mí,
continue to work
para
collaboratively
poder
together
tratar
on
de
issues we all
trabajar
mutually
con
care about. So
esto,
thank you very much.
acerca de asuntos que a todos nos importan. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you, Camilo. And with that, I give you this resolution on behalf
Y
of the
con eso
council
le
and
doy
the
una
city of Los
resolución de
Angeles.
parte del
It's
Consejo
well
de Los
deserved and
Ángeles,
earned, and
también
good
se lo
luck in your
merece,
master's
y
program
buenas,
as you're following your
y
heart,
dice, buena
learning how to
suerte
be
con
a
su
better
programa
and
de
wonderful
maestría
photographer.
y
I know that's your passion and your
poder
dream, and
hacer su
congratulations for
fotógrafo, su
pursuing it.
pasión y su sueño, y muchas felicidades en eso.
Thank you very much.
Muchísimas gracias.
So today I have the honor of
Entonces, el
saying
día de hoy
goodbye
tengo
to a
yo
wonderful
el honor de
Angelino.
decirle adiós
Can we
a
have
un
Francisco
maravilloso
Martinez and his
Angelino.
family please come
Por favor,
forward?
Francisco Martínez y su familia, acérquese.
Francisco.
Francisco
¿Y su familia?
y su familia,
Come on up.
por favor, acérquese ahora.
Francisco Martinez
Francisco Martínez
has been a resident, a citizen of this great city for many, many years. And he's had the opportunity to come back to his community after going to college and to give back. I met Francisco when he worked as an intern for me when I was in the state legislature, and immediately we fell in love with him, his kindness, his wonderful heart, his drive to work very, very hard, and his ability to take on tasks and be creative, and also to find humor in almost every single thing that he's done.
en todo
And
lo que
that's
él
been
ha
wonderful to
sentido como
have him as
conocido, y ha
part of
sido
our team
maravilloso tenerlo
here
como una parte de
in
nuestro
the 6th
equipo
Council District, as
aquí
well as when I
en
was in the
el
39th Assembly
sexto
District.
distrito cuando
But in
estaba yo en
addition to that,
la asamblea del
Francisco, more
39
importantly,
distrito.
not only is he a
Francisco, más
hard
importante,
worker,
no
a giving human
solamente
being,
es
but he's a
un trabajador
very
maravilloso y un
wonderful
maravilloso
family man.
este
And you can
ser
imagine,
humano, y es
especially
un
on a
hombre
day
de
like
familia
this
maravilloso.
in
Usted no
Los
se puede
Angeles,
imaginar
who would
el día
not
con
want to
Los
live in Los
Ángeles, ¿quién no
Angeles? Who
quisiera
would
vivir en
not
Los
want to
Ángeles? ¿Quién
come
no
here
quisiera
and
venir
make
aquí
this their
y
home?
hacer esto la casa
Francisco
de Dios?
was blessed to be
Francisco
born and raised here, but at the same time, his
bendecido
commitment to
porque nació,
family is
creció aquí,
stronger
pero
than
también
anything
su
else. And he is
obligación con
moving
su
to
familia
Texas.
es
That's
mucho
right,
más
leaving
fuerte ahora.
California
Se está
for Texas.
mudando de
No, he's
California a
not weird,
Texas.
he's not
No,
crazy.
no está
He
loco ni
is,
raro. Él
he is a wonderful
simplemente
family
es
man,
un
and his family is
hombre de
moving to
familia. Ahora
Texas.
su familia
So
se
his
está
wife,
mudando a
Mayra,
Texas.
and they're
Entonces
taking
su
their beautiful
hijo,
daughter with them,
Mayra,
and they're going to go
enseñando
to
a su hija
Texas and
maravillosa,
settle
se van a
down
ir a
and create a
Texas
new
y van a
life.
crear una
Francisco
nueva
is
vida.
so
Francisco es tan
that
talentoso
actually he
que él
interviewed and beat
entrevistó
everyone else. He has a
y
job
ganó.
even
Él
before
tiene
he
un
leaves.
trabajo
He's going to be
antes de llegar
working
allá.
with the
Él va a estar
city of San
trabajando allá
Antonio
con la
and
ciudad de
another
San
organization
Antonio y otras
working on, of all things,
organizaciones trabajando
environmental
muchas
issues.
cosas
And
de
that's a
asuntos
compliment not only
ambientales.
to
Y esto no
Francisco,
solamente es un
but a
complemento para
compliment and a
Francisco,
testament to the
simplemente
city
un
of Los Angeles
complemento aquí para la
about
ciudad de
how
Los
innovative
Ángeles
we are.
acerca de qué
Basically,
innovadores somos.
what Francisco is
Básicamente
going to
lo
be
que
doing
Francisco
after
va a hacer
having been
allá
a district
después
director
de
for
haber
me and
sido
a field
un director para
representative
mí y un
for
representante
Council
del campo
President
para
Padilla as
el
well,
presidente
he's
Padilla
learned enough
también.
about
Él ha aprendido
environmental issues,
suficiente
not by
para
heading our environmental department here in the
asuntos
city of
del
Los Angeles,
ambiente, no
just
solamente,
with
pero
working with them
simplemente
and
trabajando
collaborating with
con
them,
ellos y
that he
colaborando con ellos,
outclassed
que él
everyone else
entonces
trying out for that job.
resaltó
He's
para
going to be
otras
basically
personas que
moving into a
básicamente les va a
management
mover a
position
una
when it comes to
posición de
handling their
gerente
environmental
cuando se
issues
trata de
throughout
acerca
San
de
Antonio.
asuntos
So that's,
ambientales
once
por
again, a
todo San
testament not
Antonio.
only
Entonces,
to
no
Francisco,
solamente
but a
para
testament
Francisco,
to
pero
how talent,
una
the talent that we have
acerca
in
de
this
cómo el
city
talento que
and how
tenemos en esta
wonderful
ciudad
and
y qué tan
innovative we are as
maravilloso
a
y qué
city
tan
when it
innovadores
comes to
somos
being
como
an
ciudad
innovator
cuando
and a leader
acerca
in
de innovador
technology
y
and also
en
application
tecnología y
when it comes to the
también
environment and many
cuando
other
viene
issues.
acerca del
So
asunto
with
del
that, I'd like to
ambiente.
turn the
Entonces,
podium
y
over
con eso me
to another
gustaría
person
empezar
who's
a
had
otra
the
persona,
pleasure
la
and the
cual ha
honor to
tenido
have Francisco
el
on his
placer
staff,
y el honor
and
de
that's
tener
Council
a
President Padilla.
Francisco en eso y es el consejero Padilla.
Thank you,
Muchas
Tony.
gracias, Tony.
Ask them to move forward.
Y
It's
les pedí que se acercaran a mí ahora.
really, I think, a special day
Es un
for the
día
Martinez
especial para
family.
la
I just
familia
stand here
Martínez. Simplemente
along with Tony
me
to say
paro
how
aquí
proud I am
que tan orgulloso que
to
estoy
have
aquí yo de haber
had
tenido
Francisco be part of
Francisco
my
ser
staff for a
parte
couple of
de
years.
mi
Francisco
personal
and
por
I
un par
first
de
met when
años.
he was working
Francisco
for
cuando él
Tony
estaba
up in
trabajando para
Sacramento,
Tony
the
allá
state
en
capital.
Sacramento, en la capital
And
del
when we caught
estado.
wind that
Y
he was
nosotros
interested in
entonces
moving
estaban
back home, I
interesados
learned
a
that he was
regresar
from
para aquí.
Sylmar, right in the
Me
7th
di
Council
cuenta que
District.
él era de Sylmar,
There was
donde
a perfect fit for
había
him to
un
come back to
puesto
Southern
perfecto para regresar
California
aquí al sur
with
de
the rest of his
California
family
con el
and to
resto de su
immediately have
familia,
a position where he can
inmediatamente tener una
continue the
posición,
public
la
service
oportunidad de
career
continuar
that he
la
had
carrera de
begun in the
servicio
state
público que él
capital.
había empezado en el estado, en la capital del
Francisco
estado.
is a
Ahora
very,
Francisco
very
es
talented
un hombre
individual.
muy talentoso, un
I think
individuo.
I set a
Yo
pretty high
pienso
bar
que
for the
digo
people who work in my office, and
una
especially the people who
norma
work
bastante alta
in the
para los que
district
trabajan en oficina,
offices.
especialmente para las
Colleagues, you
personas
all
y los
know
colegas,
the
los
myriad
cuales
of
saben que
challenges that
los
we
retos
ask our
que
field
nosotros
staff to
les
take
pedimos que
on,
nuestros
issue by issue,
personal
the
tome
people
ahora, las
skills, the
personas, las
patience,
habilidades
the
de tratar
organizational
con otras
skills,
gentes,
the hours that they put
o
in,
de
you name
habilidades
it. Our field deputies
organizacionales,
probably
las
have some of the
horas. Ahora,
toughest
estas personas
jobs
tienen uno de los
that are
trabajos
out
más
there.
difíciles de los
But at
cuales
each
están
and
allá,
every
pero
turn,
cada uno
Francisco
de
not
ellos,
only met
Francisco
the
no
standard
solamente
that I felt you
reunió
need
los
to meet when
requisitos,
dealing
pero
with the public, but
estaban
met the
para encargarse con el
higher
público
standard that I
las normas
place
tan
on
altas que yo
working with the
pongo
constituents
trabajando
in communities that
con
we
nuestras
call
comunidades que
home.
nosotros
Our job is very
llamamos.
personal
Nuestro
for us.
trabajo es bastante
When
personal
we
con
come
nosotros
from
cuando
Pacoima
venimos
and
aquí de
Sylmar and serve
Pacoima,
the council
Sylmar,
districts
ahora
that
cerca de los
represent
consejeros
those
del
very
distrito
same
que representan
communities.
las mismas
I'm so proud of
comunidades.
Francisco.
Estoy
He
tan
was phenomenal in everything from
orgulloso
community
de estaba
cleanups
fenomenal
to
acerca de
working
las
with Pacoima
cuando
Beautiful
trabajando
on environmental
como
policy
las
issues
pólizas, los
and
asuntos
everything in between.
y
You name
todo
it, he's dealt
lo
with it.
que se
State
trataba
issues,
de
federal issues,
a asuntos federales, asuntos estatales, pero al hacer eso con clase, con una manera que lo llevó a él, a todas las personas que él se encontró, y hacerlo de una manera que fue tan efectivo para él, que él como aprendió, que regresó aquí a la ciudad de Consejero, yo necesito a Francisco de nuevo, transfiera ahora a Francisco del sexto al otro circuito. Ahora es una pérdida personal ver lo que él se va a mudar a San Antonio, porque San Antonio, su familia van a ser los residentes en servicios públicos en Texas. Entonces, para usted, Francisco, su esposa y toda su familia, muy buena suerte.
Thank you, Council President
Gracias
Padilla.
ahora, Presidente Padilla.
I'd now like to give this
Me
resolution
gustaría
of
dar la
Francisco
resolución de
Martinez. And
Francisco Martínez. Y
this doesn't just belong to
esto no
him, it belongs to
solamente
his
le
family. If you know
pertenece a él, sino a
Francisco,
la
you know
familia.
he
Si
likes to
usted
joke
conoce a su familia,
around,
le
and
gusta
he shared a story
bromear,
with
y él
us
compartió una
recently
historia
that when he was in
recientemente que
elementary
cuando él
school,
estaba en la
he kind of
escuela
hid those notes
elemental,
that came
él
home when the teacher was
escondía
complaining that he
todas
was
las
joking
notas
too
que
much in class.
la maestra estaba
And when his
quejándose
father
que le
found
estaba
out, he
haciendo
took care of it the old-fashioned way.
El
But
padre
I guess not enough,
se
because
encargó de
Francisco
la
never got
manera
that
antes,
out of himself. But
porque
that's one of the
Francisco
beautiful,
nunca
wonderful
se
qualities
quitó
of
de las
Francisco.
cualidades de
He
Francisco.
always finds a
Él
way to
siempre
bring humor
encuentra
into
una manera de
everything.
humor
He's a
entre
very
todo.
serious,
Es
very
un hombre
dedicated,
muy
humble human
serio,
being, and we're going
muy
to miss him
dedicado,
sorely.
muy
And on
humilde
behalf of the
ser
city of
humano
Los
de
Angeles
parte de
and
la
the
ciudad
mayor
de
of
Los
Los
Ángeles
Angeles
y
and the
aquí
entire community of Los Angeles, we're
toda
going
la
to miss
comunidad de
you.
Los Ángeles
God
vamos a
bless you,
extrañar.
and
Dios lo
say a few words to
bendiga
us,
y diga
please.
unas cuantas palabras para nosotros, por favor.
Well, first of all, I'd like to
Primero
thank
que nada me gustaría
Councilmembers
agradecer
Cárdenas
a
and Padilla
los
for
concejales
doing this and the
Cárdenas y Padillas
staff.
por
That's
hacer
twice
esto.
I get surprised. The
También
first time I was
otra vez,
surprised I was
pues, la
wearing white
primera vez
socks.
estaba yo tenía
This time I'm in council chambers without a jacket. So,
sin una chaqueta. Entonces,
first of all, I
ahora
want to
primero
thank
que nada
Councilmembers
quiero
Padilla and
empezar
Cárdenas
con
for giving me the
Padilla y Cárdenas
opportunity.
por darme la oportunidad.
Councilmember Cárdenas first in
Señor
Sacramento
Cárdenas primero ya en
to serve my
Sacramento
community
para
like
poder
you all
servir a
serve
mi
your
comunidad como
communities at a
todos ustedes
different
sirven a sus
level,
comunidades
at
a
the
un
staff
nivel
level.
diferente.
And I want to also thank my
nivel
parents
como
for giving me the
también mis
values
padres por darme
and the
los
commitment
valores
to work.
y la
Born here in
obligación de trabajar.
76, immigrant
Nací aquí en
parents,
76 de
County
padres
Hospital, to
inmigrantes.
not being able to provide better for my family and the communities around us. And I want to thank my wife too for being my best friend and my daughter. And as I look around the horseshoe and I see the faces of the council members and I compare them to the face of my daughter, I made an easy choice. No offense to the council members. But thank you very much for everything. I'd be remiss if I wouldn't say this publicly. I've said it on a couple of different occasions. Is thank First of all, the council
Primero que
members for
nada,
giving me
agradezco al
opportunities, but one
concejales por las
specific
oportunidades,
individual
pero
who's
un
been very
individuo
kind to me
específico que ha sido muy
professionally and been
buena
very
gente
kind to
conmigo
me personally,
profesionalmente, que ha
has
sido
been
muy
like a
buena
brother
gente,
to
ha
me
sido como
and guided
hermano
me in
para
my
mí, me ha
professional
guiado
development, and
en
that's
mi
José
desarrollo
Cornejo.
es José
It's very rare
Cornejo,
that
que
we
es muy
find
raro que nosotros encontremos
people in our lives who are
personas
willing
en
to
nuestra
take
vida que están
chances, who are willing
dispuestas a
to
tomar
push
oportunidades,
us,
que están
and who are
dispuestos a
willing to give
empujarnos
us
un
the
poquito, darnos una
opportunity to
oportunidad
prove
de
ourselves.
probar a
And I think
nosotros
he's been
mismos.
very
Yo
kind in
pienso que él
doing
ha
that.
sido muy
So I want to thank him publicly as
buena gente
well.
por haber hecho eso y le quiero agradecer en público
Thank
por
you,
eso.
everyone,
Muchísimas
and we're
gracias a todos y
going
nosotros
to enjoy
vamos
our time in San
entonces
Antonio and take with us our
disfrutar
memories. And
nuestra casa en San
my wife
Antonio,
wants to,
nuestros memories.
my daughter wants to
Mi
speak
hija
now.
quiere hablar ahora.
Okay, thank you very much.
Muchísimas
Appreciate it.
gracias. Agradezco a todos.
Take a picture.
Están tomando fotografías ahora.
Thank you so much and
Muchísimas
congratulations.
gracias y
I'd like to
felicidades. Me
acknowledge
gustaría ahora
Councilmember Garcetti
reconocer
for
a
introduction.
concejal Garcetti para
Thank you
una
very much,
introducción.
Madam
Muchísimas
President,
gracias,
and I wanted to
señora
take this
Presidente. Ahora
opportunity
quiero
to
tomar esta
welcome a
oportunidad
group
para
here. I think
bienvenir
many
a
of
un
you know
grupo que
Richard
muchos
Virches,
conocen aquí a Richard
great
Virches.
activist and
Es un
advocate in our community,
activista
and he
portavoz
is
de nuestra
also plays
comunidad
a role
también.
of helping out
Él
with the
juega un
German
papel en
Marshall Fund of the
nuestro
United States,
fundamento
an exchange
Marshall,
program of
un
young
programa
leaders
de
in the United States who go to
intercambio,
Europe and those
los
from Europe who come to the United States. So it's
muchachos
our
que vienen de
great
los
pleasure
Estados
today
Unidos
to
van a
have
Europa. Entonces es muy un
5
placer de traer aquí a
individuals,
5
one of whom I
individuos,
know
uno de los
for over a
cuales
decade.
yo conozco más de
We
una
used to run a
década.
boat together
Los,
in graduate school.
antes
Yuri
en la
Albrecht
escuela de
from
graduado
Netherlands who is here. We also have
nos
Elisabetta
montamos en el mismo bote
Gezi
también.
from
Elizabeth
Italy,
Gezi de Italia,
Silvia
Silvia
from Greece,
Sargiote de Grecia,
Christian
Christian
Zerfas from Germany,
Zerfas de
and Marcin,
Alemania
and I
y
know I'm not going to get the
Marshall,
last
que no
name
me voy a,
right,
no voy a decir el apellido bien, pero Zogala,
okay, from
Zogala,
Poland.
y
If
eso
you'd please
es
stand up, we'd
de
love to
Polonia. Por favor,
recognize you with a
póngase
round
de
of
pie,
applause and
quisiéramos
welcome to
reconocerlo con
United
un
States
aplauso
and
y
enjoy your
bienvenidos a los
time here
Estados
in the
Unidos.
city of Los
Y
Angeles.
entonces
Wonderful to have you
diviértase
here.
aquí en la ciudad de Los Ángeles y
Thank you very much,
nos
Madam
da gusto
President.
tenerlos aquí. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. I think we now
Señora
have
Presidente,
a
ahora
quorum.
tenemos
You want to
nosotros
call the roll,
Norma,
Madam
ahora
Clerk?
vamos a, por
Cárdenas,
favor,
Garcetti,
entonces,
Gruhl, Hahn,
Cárdenas,
Labange,
Garceni,
Parks,
Lemos
Perry,
Parques,
Reyes, Rosendahl,
Reyes,
Smith, Weiss, Simon,
Rosendahl,
Padilla,
Simon
13
Padilla.
members present and a
Los
quorum,
13
Mr.
miembros
President.
están ahora. Y ahora
Madam
muchísimas
Clerk, if we
gracias.
could,
Si
colleagues, go
pudiéramos, por
through the
favor,
items
colegas,
that we
podemos
have
pasar
before
por
us.
todos
Madam
los
Clerk,
asuntos
first
que tenemos
order.
ahora.
First order of business is approval of the minutes.
Lo primero es va a ser la
Mr.
aprobación de
Smith
las
moves, Mr. Mr. Zine seconds.
Señor
Commendatory
Méndez, ahora
resolutions for
resolución
approval.
entonces para aprobación.
Those been
Eso
approved.
ya ha sido
On the
aprobado.
regular agenda, items
En la
noticed for
agenda
public
de los
hearings, items
artículos,
1 through 4
los
are street
artículos de
vacations,
1 a
and
4.
I believe there is a card on item
Parece
number
que hay
4
una
if
carta
council
número
wishes to
4
call that
si el
special.
concejal quisiera convocar a
Item
ese
number 4,
asunto
we'll
especial
call that
ahora.
item
El
special.
número 4 lo
And
vamos a
the
llamar
other items,
especial.
if there are no
Y los otros
protests
asuntos, si
on
no hay
1, 2, or
nadie se
3,
opone en el 1,
the
2 y
council
3,
can
ahora
instruct the city
el
engineer
concejal
to proceed
puede
with the
instruir
vacations.
antes con las vacaciones.
Okay, those
Ahora,
items
muy
are now
bien, esos
before us.
artículos están
Madam
ante
Clerk, open the
nosotros.
roll,
Ahora actuaría,
close the roll,
habrá,
tabulate the
cierra
votes.
y ahora colocar las 13 sís.
Next item. Next items, Madam President, are items for which public
Presidente,
hearings have been
audiencias
held.
para
Items
audiencia
5
pública
through
de
44,
5 a
items 5
44,
through
artículos
16
de
are
4 a
commissioners.
56
Do you wish to hold
comisionados.
those
Ustedes
on the
quisieran
desk? We will
celebrar
hold those on the
estos
desk.
en
And
la
also on item number
mesa también.
41, there is a
Artículo número
request from
41, hay
Councilmember
una
Parks to
petición
continue
por
that matter for 1 week, and
Parks
the
que
new date
continúe el
is
asunto.
November
La nueva
9th.
fecha va a ser el
That
9 de
item will be
noviembre.
continued
Ese
1
artículo va a
week.
ser aplazado por una semana.
And that leaves
Y eso
items
nos deja
17
nosotros con
through
el
44
asunto
with the
17
exception
con con la
of
excepción de
41 before council.
41 ante el
We do
concejal.
have a card
Sí
on
tenemos
item
aquí una
number
tarjeta
35,
en
so I'd
el
like to call that
asunto
item
número
special.
35 que se llama llamar ese
Mr.
asunto
Zine.
especial. Señor Stein, asunto
18.
especial 18. Gracias.
Mr. Rosendahl,
Señor Rosendale,
27, okay.
27, muy
Mr.
bien.
Reyes,
Señor
Items
Reyes,
7 through 15.
artículo 7 al
We did call
15.
those- we had those
Sí,
on the
tuvimos
desk.
ahí, tuvimos esto
Mr.
aquí.
Padilla.
Entonces, señor
Item
Padilla,
36, please.
36, por favor.
36.
Artículo 36.
Mr. Garcetti?
Señor Garcetti,
No. Any other items called special?
¿algún otro artículo que se
If
llame
not, the
especial?
balance of
Si
those
no,
items
el
are now
balance de
before us.
artículos están ante
Madam Clerk,
nosotros.
open the roll,
Dama, señorita,
close the roll,
actuaría, por favor,
tabulate the
cierre
votes.
y ahora
39.
calcule 13
Thank you.
sí.
That item has been
Gracias.
approved.
Entonces,
Those items have
ese
been approved.
asunto ha
Next
sido
order of business.
aprobado. Las
Next items
próximas,
are items for
las
which
próximas
public
van a ser
hearings
las
have
cuales
not been
audiencias
held.
todavía no
Items
han sido
45
celebradas.
through
Artículos
72, 10
44,
votes are
72,
required for
10 votos
consideration.
se consideran
Okay, we do have
para
cards on items
consideración. Ahora
47,
tenemos
49,
47,
50, and
49,
53.
50 y 53.
We'll call those items
Vamos a
special.
convocar esos
Yes, Mr.
asuntos especiales.
Garcetti.
Señor
Thank you.
Garcetti,
Can we have,
gracias.
52
Tenemos
special and
52
17 and
especial y
32
17 y
forthwith, please?
32 inmediatamente, por
17, what was the
favor.
other item?
17 y 32,
forthwith.
los
Yes,
dos van a
Mr.
ser
Lavange.
inmediatamente. Ok, señor Lavange, ahora yo lo siento. 44. Entonces, ahora 45, si pudiera usted regresar.
When we
por
go through
favor.
these items, we will
Cuando
reconsider
nosotros
that.
podemos reconsiderarlo.
Okay.
Muchísimas gracias.
All right, 52, spot
Ahora,
special, Mr.
52.
Garcetti. Seeing
Señor
no other items called
Garcetti,
special, Madam Clerk, open the roll on the balance of those items.
actuaría, por favor,
Close the roll,
balance, ahora
tabulate the
cierre
votes.
y calcúlelos. Ahora 13
Okay.
sí.
We'll reconsider item
Vamos
number
a
44.
reconsiderar
Now
asunto número
before us.
44.
Madam Clerk, open the roll.
Ahora, señorita,
Close the
actuaría,
roll,
por favor,
tabulate the
ciérrelo,
votes.
ábrelo.
39.
That item will be called
Ahora
special
ese
by Mr.
artículo va a ser
Lavange.
especial por el señor Lavange.
Next order of business.
El próximo asunto de negocios.
Next item, Madam President, on the
Entonces,
continuation
presidente,
agenda,
va a
item
ser
number
la sección número
73, public
44,
hearing has not been
73,
held,
audiencia
and
pública
the
no ha sido
ordinance has been
celebrada, y
distributed
la
to the
ordenanza
council
ha sido
members.
distribuida ya a los miembros de los
Seeing
concejales ahora.
no one calling that
Ya que
special, we'll have that
nadie
item before us.
especial
Madam Clerk,
menciona
open the
este asunto
roll,
ante nosotros,
close
ahora
the roll,
articula, cierra
tabulate the votes.
y
39.
13
That item has been
Ahora
approved.
este
Next order,
artículo ha
and
sido
that would take
aprobado.
council back
Esto
to
va a
the
tomar
items
el
called special.
consejero
The
bajo
first
el
items will be the
primero.
commissioners.
Va a ser
First
el
item is item number
comisionado y
5,
hacia el
and
número
that is
5, y eso va a ser
confirmation of Lydia
confirmación
Kennard as the
de Lidia
executive
Kennard
director of
como
LAWA.
la
that's
ejecutiva
for the
de
interim
LAVA,
and
y
permanent
eso va a ser
appointment.
por ahora. Y un asunto.
Ms. Kennard.
Señorita
Lydia here.
Kennard, ¿está aquí?
Please have a seat. Welcome back.
Bienvenida.
First, I'd like to recognize
Primero quisiera yo
Council President
reconocer
Padilla.
al
Thank you, Madam
concejal
Chair, and
presidente
welcome
Padilla.
back, Lydia.
Gracias a Lidia.
Colleagues, I stand
Ahora,
in
colegas,
support
yo
of
respaldo
confirmation
a la
of Ms.
confirmación
Kennard as
de
our
la
new
señorita Kennard como
director of
nueva
LAWA,
directora
and
de LAWA.
wanted to ask you to
Y
begin
quería
by spending a couple
preguntarle yo que
minutes and
usted
sharing
empiece.
with us sort of her views. She's been with the city, been with the airport department before. She was away for a brief time and is now back. We've been through a lot these last several years when it comes to the airport post 9/11 from a financial standpoint, master plan standpoint, police and security standpoint, and would love to hear her views as she's seeking to reapproach this job.
Thank you so much, Councilman, and members of the council. As many of you know, I started at the airport way back in 1994, came there to run their facilities and construction program. One of my big projects was the construction of the new Ontario Airport. In 1999, I was appointed by Mayor Reardon to be the executive director and served in that position through 2003. During that period, as you well know, was the 9/11 tragedy and saw the department through that very, very big crisis, not only from a security standpoint, but also from a financial standpoint. I'm very happy to be returning now in this new era. We have some big issues at the airport, not least of which is the LAX master plan and assisting the council and the mayor in revisiting, reformulating a new vision for the airport as we move forward into the new millennium. Also working toward a regional solution for airport capacity. Ontario and Palmdale will be big players in that. As you well know, also police and security are big agenda items for the airport. The reorganization, reformulation of our police force, making it a premier law enforcement agency, as well as undertaking the implementation of the RAND Corporation security initiatives. And the third big agenda on our immediate list is to fill some very significant vacancies that exist at the airport and undertake a reorganization which will allow us to fully staff and implement these very big agenda items that face us.
Just want to say thank you. We've had an opportunity to meet privately in my office, and we talked about a number of issues. I'm pleased to know that Van Nuys Airport is not lost on your radar, especially for the residents of the San Fernando Valley. That's an important facility on a lot of fronts. The Flyway project in Silmar that's moving along, I'm glad that's also important to you. And your mention of regionalization of air traffic, while it's a lot more work in dealing with airports that are outside our direct jurisdiction, the City of LA will continue to play a bigger role because of Ontario, its size and potential, and on a longer-term basis, Palmdale and its size and potential. So let me just end by asking one question that I forgot to ask yesterday, and that is your thoughts as we're revisiting the master plan at LAX. Ahora, ¿qué piensa usted acerca del estado de los beneficios
community benefits is a huge component of the entirety of the master plan, and
y también es importante de mitigaciones para la comunidad que están alrededor del aeropuerto y también hay mucha atención para llevar ahora los beneficios de la comunidad, siendo que el plan principal está eso. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Mr. Patia.
Gracias, señor Padilla. Tenemos al señor Stein y después el señor Smith, el señor Roosevelt y el señor Cardenas.
You know what, Mr. Stein, I'm going to ask Mr. Cardenas if you could speak first as chair of the committee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zine.
Muchísimas gracias, señor
Lydia,
Stein. Ahora, Lidia,
known the
usted
airport
ha
very
conocido
well.
al
You
aeropuerto.
ran the place. You did a wonderful job. Next, you're expecting me to say, "What, are you crazy? Why are you coming back?" But that's not the case. The fact of the matter is, you know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly where you're going, and we have a lot of leadership responsibilities that need to emanate out of there with some major decisions that need to be made in the next few days, in the next few weeks, that will set this airport in motion, actually set the region of air transportation in motion for decades to come. Can you give me a couple of things that you're going to be working on right away? They're going to be basically the kinds of issues that will be setting the pace for our community and for air transportation for the region just in the next few days and the next few weeks.
Well, I think there's a great opportunity today to look at the entirety of the transportation and traffic mitigation programs that were put forward in the master plan as it exists today and beyond. One of the concerns that has always existed in surrounding communities is the traffic that's emanating out of LAX, and I think we haven't done a very good job at putting together a comprehensive menu of interventions to protect the communities to the north the
proteger las
south, and to
comunidades al
bring
norte, al sur, y
airport
también atraer
passengers
a los pasajeros
into
del
the airport
aeropuerto
efficiently and
hasta al
effectively while
aeropuerto
still protecting the
eficientemente y
surrounding community. So
efectivamente.
that's a
Tomamos
big
al
agenda
mismo
item. I
tiempo
think
protegiendo a
there's a
las
great opportunity
vecindarios,
today
a la
to
comunidad de
really make a
alrededor.
difference
Este es un día para
there. And
poder
that's
hacer
one big
una diferencia
agenda
y este es
item.
One
un
of the
asunto
issues
bastante
that
grande,
people
¿verdad? Uno de
are
los
concerned
asuntos de
about,
los
certainly
cuales
the
están
surrounding
preocupadas
community
las
around LAX,
las
is the
comunidades
fact of
alrededor, es
ground
el
traffic,
facto del
air noise,
tráfico
things of
y
that
las
nature.
entonces
Yet at
tipo
the
de esas
same
cosas. Ahora
time,
al
we need to
mismo
be
tiempo
fair to
tenemos que ser
ourselves.
justos con
The
nosotros
burden of
mismos.
air
Ahora
traffic
el
on
peso de
LAX is
nuestro
growing
tráfico
because, in my
está creciendo
opinion,
porque en mi
when you look to
opinión
the south of
cuando
us in
usted
Orange
mira
County,
al
they're
sur
not
de
even
nosotros
taking
en
the
el condado
capacity of Orange
de
County.
Orange,
We
ni siquiera
get,
estamos en la
I think, at
capacidad.
least 1 million passengers a year
Éramos como 1 millón
coming
de
to
pasajeros al año
LAX.
que vienen
No, wait a
aquí
minute,
a
I think it's
LAX.
close to 10
No,
million
parece que
passengers a
son
year
10
coming out of Orange
millones
County,
de
and
pasajeros que
millions of
vienen del
tons
condado de
of
Orange
air
y
cargo that
millones
come out of our LAX that
toneladas
are
de
burdened
cargo que
from the
vienen
county
de
neighboring
los
to us.
del
I'm not
LAX a nosotros.
complaining.
Yo
All
no me
I'm
estoy
saying
quejando,
is if
todo lo
we're
que
going to
estoy
have
diciendo que si vamos a
regional
tener
transportation solutions,
transportación,
aren't we going to need
soluciones, que no vamos a
cooperation?
necesitar
Aren't we going to need
cooperación, vamos a
collaboration
tener
with other
colaboración
airports,
con otros
not just the
aeropuertos,
ones
no
owned by the city
solamente
of Los Angeles?
los que son dueños de la ciudad de Los Ángeles.
Exactly
Concejal,
correct.
usted está exactamente
There is a great
correcto.
opportunity
Hay
for
una
this
oportunidad
council and this
bastante
mayor to
grande
take a
para este
leadership
concejal y
role
este
in a real
alcalde para que
regional
llegue una
airport authority that has the
liderazgo
teeth and
para
the
que pueda
substance and the
tener
legal
la
authority
sustancia y la
to convene
autoridad
the
legal
different
para
operators
convenir
in the
las
region
maneras
and
diferentes que
come
se
up with
operan
some
en esa región
meaningful solutions on the adequate redistribution of air traffic, both
traer una solución
domestic and international.
entonces ya sea doméstica
Well, one of the things that I want to clarify,
una de
and
las
this
cosas
is
que yo
my
quiero
opinion,
esclarecer y
Lydia,
esta es mi
and that
opinión,
is that
Lidia, y
SCAG,
es
this
que
regional organization that gives a lot of
organización
opinions and tries to
que
pull
trae muchas
together
opiniones y que
thoughts
trata de
and
poner
ideas about
juntos
how we need to
ideas
handle
de cómo
things.
nosotros
In my
tenemos que
personal
tratar
opinion,
cosas.
they
En mi
got too
opinión
political
personal,
when they dropped
se
El
pusieron
Toro
demasiado
from their
político
list of
cuando
possibilities of supporting air
dejaron al Toro
transportation in
como
Southern California.
las
When we
importaciones a
lose
California cuando
opportunities like
tenemos
that,
oportunidades
doesn't it
como esa
burden
que no
us to have to be more
eso no es
creative and
más
figure out
problema
how we're
nosotros
going
ser
to
más
work
creativos y cómo
regionally,
nosotros vamos a
and
trabajar
the burden on us is
regionalmente y
greater
eso
when we
nosotros es
miss
mucho más
opportunities where
grande
the
cuando nosotros
runways and
perdemos
the airport, the
oportunidades que
infrastructure was
entonces
already
la
there,
instrucción
and
ya
basically
estaba
they just
ahí
gave it away,
básicamente
and that option is no longer on the table.
Well,
la
absolutely,
renuncia y esa
and
opción ya
not
no está
to
en la
discredit
mesa
SCAG
ahora
in
no
any way, but
solamente
SCAG
para
has a
desacreditar a
plethora of
SCAG
different
pero
regional
tiene
issues,
un
and I think what
de
needs to
asuntos
be
y
put
lo que
forth
tiene que
is
hacer
an authority whose singular purpose is the aviation system in this region, and I think that will be very, very helpful.
Now, we did that. Would we be advocating at all in any way that they would have authority over our LAX, for example? Yet at the same time, we have to pay for it, we have to run it, we have to answer to FAA, we have to answer to our constituents who own it. Yet at the same time, would that authority have, would you envision that that authority would actually have decision-making power within the confines of our airport?
You know, I think it's too premature to kind of anticipate how a structure might work effectively. I actually have staff engaged right now looking at different prototypical types of structures that have been effective around the country. The FAA has been involved in that. And let's give some time and spend some real good analytical work on what might work best in this context.
Yeah, one of the reasons why I wanted to bring some of the subject matter up to you is so that the people of Los Angeles can appreciate the tremendous responsibilities that you're taking on, and the buck stops with you. You're not just in charge of LAX, you're going to be in charge of the Van Nuys Airport, the Palmdale Airport, the Ontario Airport. A lot of people don't realize, because Ontario is not within the city of Los Angeles, that the Ontario Airport is actually owned by the people of Los Angeles. I just wanted to make sure that the people understand the scope, the breadth of the responsibilities that you have. As a matter of fact, as we speak, as soon as you leave here, you're going to be getting over to some negotiations and talks with the surrounding community on how we can be better neighbors, how we can put to bed some of the issues that have been brewing out there for decades now. And those are tremendous responsibilities. I have full confidence in your ability, and I appreciate your willingness to come back to us and to serve the people of Los Angeles and take on these responsibilities that in some ways, quite frankly, Lydia, it's a thankless job in some moments, but you're looking past that because you want to do what's best for the city. I know that. You've shared that with me. I just want to make sure the people of Los Angeles understand your commitment.
Thank you very much.
Su obligación. Muchas gracias. Abogado Zain, concejal Zain.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning.
Gracias. Buenos
Welcome
días.
back.
Thank you.
Bienvenida. De nuevo,
1994.
1994.
LAX.
Los
How many significant changes have been
aeropuertos de
made
Los
from
Ángeles,
1994 to the present time of
cambios
LAX?
significantes se han
Not
hecho?
very many.
No
Okay.
muchos.
How about the load
Ahora,
capacity?
la capacidad,
The load capacity.
la capacidad
fairly
tan baja,
significant.
es bastante
And the traveling public has continued to utilize and more people in this region utilizing that facility.
Absolutely. There was a significant dip post 9/11, but those numbers are steadily moving up.
And I know that many of Angelinos and other people, Santa Barbara, Ventura County, residents of those communities also use LAX. And what I find frustrating, when I go to other cities, it seems to be a well-balanced environment where the infrastructure is there to accommodate those loads, the capacity, not only the freight, but the passengers. And when I see people standing out for hour plus, especially during the holiday season, to get on board the aircraft, to go through the security check, which I support the security checks. What can we do? Our holidays are coming around. What can we do in this short term to have more TSA, to have more security, quicker check through? Because people oftentimes during the holidays are going to spend 2 hours just waiting to go to the initial checkpoint. And with the traffic congestion and all the time it takes to get there, and then they've got to go through that, and you're now the general manager to be, how do we have a short term? I know there's a long-term solution down the road. You've gone through different administrations. How do we serve that public that has to utilize LAX, in particular with the holidays coming around this month and next month, and all the traveling public will be visiting their families and coming into Los Angeles? What can we do in the short term to accommodate, to assist them?
Councilmember, let me just first state a fact that is very humbling for us who operate the airport. The current design capacity for LAX is 40 million annual passengers.
40 million annual.
40 million. On any given day, we're in excess of 60 million. That doesn't include the Thanksgiving holiday, which is our busiest of the season of the year. So we are operating 50% over capacity and more. That is an operational challenge at every single level, at every single day. During the Thanksgiving holiday, we man stations from police to TSA. Everybody's on shift to manage this very intensive peak period. We do the very best we can, but I must say that we are over capacity, and that's a challenge for us.
Is there anything that we could do during this holiday season with additional flyaways from, I understand the only one we have right now is from LA, from Van Nuys. And I know the green line's not going in there. We just opened up the orange line this past weekend. Is there anything we can do to assist the traveling public since we're over capacity? We know we're going to get additional loads. Additional flyaways, additional access in and out during this particular period of time, and then after the first of the year, come up with some other plans. But I'm talking about some kind of a short term to accommodate this passenger load that we know is going to happen.
And one of the things that's most helpful to us.
Before you answer, if I could just ask, we have a lot of noise in the chambers. If we could ask everyone to please be quiet. Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Zahn.
Thank you. One of the things that's most helpful to us is to communicate with the public on how to best access our airports through public transportation. We have the Green Line, we have flyaway buses, we have shuttle buses, and that's the very best way to try to tackle the traffic issues. The other piece, of course, is to get people through security as quickly as possible. We will have some public service announcements starting the end of next week to advise people on how best to navigate through our airports. The flyaway in Van Nuys is a great opportunity to park and ride to our airports. And to your question, Councilmember Zine, we are undertaking to open a new flyaway at Union Station. We're in negotiations with MTA and Catellus to do that, as well as in Sylmar. And we have another site at the intersection of the 710 and the 405. So you will see those flyaway sites coming online in the next 6 months to a year as we stage them.
But is there any preparation we could do for this holiday season other than encouraging them to use flyaway if they come in from Van Nuys? For example, Union Station, if I want to get the train, I can take that Green Line, and then when I don't know where I get off, I know that leg stops and it goes down to the beach communities. Do we have a connection from the Green Line?
At the terminus of the Green Line at Aviation, you can take a bus directly, a dedicated airport bus directly into the airport.
Okay, so we've got some type of improvement over what we've had in the past. Just a couple of the questions. Your confidence, your support for the current police operations, both LAWA and LAPD, at LAX?
We have a lot of work to do. We have a good security force at LAX, which needs some dramatic improvements to make it a premier law enforcement agency. And there's a multiplicity of things that need to be done. I just had a meeting with Councilmember Weiss. First and foremost, we need to hire some critical positions. We have a security deputy position, which will be our security czar over not only police, but also the implementation of the RAND Corporation initiatives on security, and also working with all the multiple security agencies that exist at the airport, FBI, CIA, DEA, LAPD. We also have hiring to undertake. We have a lot of open officer positions and a significant reorganization that needs to be done to enable our officers to be all the best that they can be.
So you know the challenge,
I know the
you
challenge.
know the task, and with all that, you're still willing to go.
I am.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Mr. Smith, followed by Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you. And welcome back, Ms. Kennard.
Thank you very much.
I've said many times that as I look at your resume, I think it's one of the most outstanding resumes I've seen in my life for any position. So you're a great asset to Los Angeles. I want to follow in with Mr. Zine's comments about security, because we had this debate last week in council, and Mr. Zine and I are bringing in a motion right now today to investigate the entire LAPD component of the airport security system. I have always said, and I think that's the intent of our motion, is that it's time to pull LAPD out of there in an orderly way and have LAX assume total responsibility for that facility. And I'd like to hear your comments on that concept, because it's not just you have problems there, obviously, but beyond those problems, we have problems there that we're assigning personnel to back you up, cost you overtime and a half, and it's really not an efficient way to do things. So I'd like to hear your comments on that.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think there's a great opportunity for LAPD and MAWA PD to continue its relationship. We definitely need LAPD presence on airport. The question is, how is that configured? What are the roles and responsibilities of these two agencies? And I'm not sure if you're referring to the 22 police officers in particular. That issue came up post 9/11. A letter came from me to the then police chief to say, thank you very much, but we think that the 22 officers could be better served citywide, and that is still our position. Not to neglect, however, the important role of LAPD on airport, but relative to those 22 officers, we think they can be better served citywide.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. I think obviously LAPD has a function there, and is to back you up with our specialized units that you can't afford to run, but certainly as far as ongoing patrol, that is not LAPD function. We need to put those back in the streets of LA. So I'm glad to hear that we're thinking the same that way, and Mr. Zine and I have that motion in today. On a second issue, transportation element, we begin talking about the Green Line. There's much bigger transportation issues out there, and I'd like to hear just briefly some concepts on your part, particularly as it deals to ideas of maglev, which the City Council authorized money to begin the process of consideration, at least, if not committing to it, considering that as an option for rapid transit throughout the region, not just the city, not just around the airport, but to relieve some of the pressure on our freeway system, our Metrolink system, etc., on a much bigger regional concept as it connects Ontario and LAX, which Ontario is a very big supporter of. So I'd like to hear your comments on that idea.
Well, unfortunately, this is just my third week back on the job, and there's a lot of catching up to do. And I don't have a definitive answer for you, but I would like to take the time in the next several months to convene a transportation group of people that are really knowledgeable, not only about airport-specific transportation and traffic mitigation, but also regional. And there is a lot of debate on what is the best system, and I don't think we all know the answer yet. But what I can fundamentally say is what we don't want to do is enable people to come rapidly from Ontario or Palmdale into LAX. We want to do a different configuration so that we incentivize people to go to the outer lying airports. And I think that is the basic premise.
And it certainly is the key to opening Palmdale someday. Without a transportation element, Palmdale will never open. And so I think this is one. They're doing it in China, Pudong. They're doing it in Munich now. And so I think we need to take a look at that, and we have support from the United States Congress. We're on the short list for funding such a program. So I think we really need to, I'm glad to hear you're willing to be open to that and work with us in SCAG on that project. So I look forward to working with you. And in fact, we're probably going to be going to take a look at Pudong's system early next year. So I'd love to have you take a look at that too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you, Madam President. Welcome back to the city in the new role again as the chief there. And I was very impressed with my colleague Tony Cardenez's initial set of questions, and of course both Mr. Smith and Mr. Zines. I don't want to repeat all of that, but let me go through a little bit more on regionalism. You and I both know a megalopolis of 15 to 18 million people shouldn't be stuffing everything in one airport in a bedroom community called Westchester. It seems that it only gets worse over the years. You said it should handle 40 million, but it's up to over 60. When you take a deep breath and you look at the fact that Orange County opted out of their responsibility, they should have done El Toro. And when you look at some of the issues regarding Ontario, what's your vision of how we become regional and have 3 or 4 other locations for our people to go fly out of?
Well, there's great opportunities just nearby LAX. For instance, Long Beach could be a fabulous reliever airport for LAX. The problem is that Long Beach has a 41 flight cap. If in a perfect world there'd be a federal, state, and local initiative to get that cap raised, that's one immediate thing that could really relieve air traffic out of LAX. The other is that Orange County should and can, if they have the willingness, have an international facility that serves South Orange County and North San Diego County. That would be another perfect world. It will take some time, but I think we have to start somewhere. And I think that Los Angeles has the capacity now to provide the leadership on this regional basis to start the dialogue at least, to try to get some type of international facility down in South Orange County.
I mean, the bottom line is our streets are gridlocked, our airport is gridlocked, and the counties, all the counties and all the cities in the counties have to work together, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, do we need to have a regional airport authority like New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut did so that they could do the spread? Would that be something out of Sacramento that would give the mayor and you more teeth to work with the surrounding counties?
Councilmember Rosendahl, I don't know what the structural answer is, and as I indicated earlier, I have some staff working on that, and work closely with the FAA to help us understand what is working in other regions that are similar to Los Angeles. And it's a very complicated legal and political endeavor, but I think it has to start somewhere, and I think now is the time for Los Angeles, with the leadership we have both at the council and the mayoral level, to start the process.
Amen. The Green Line, the green projects that were approved, we're going forward. Would you explain what those 3 projects are and the timetable on them?
The Green Line, the proposal in the existing master plan is to connect the Green Line into the central terminal area through a people mover system. And the optimal situation would be you'd come from Union Station directly into the airport. I think there's some opportunities even to relook at that. There may be some even more effective ways to do that.
What's your sense of the Green Project, Green Light Project with the 50-foot runway? Explain that one.
For those of you who are not aware, there's a major project. It's the first project out in the existing LAX master plan, and it is to enable 2 things. One, the airfield to operate more efficiently and much safer. There's a thing called runway incursions, where aircraft conflict in potentially dangerous ways. This project in moving the south runway 55 feet south will solve in large measure some of our incursion problems on the south side. The other benefit of that program, many of you have heard about the coming of the A380, the new large aircraft, and it has a larger wingspan, it's much heavier. This project will enable us to land that aircraft safely on our south complex.
The A380 is a good idea, basically
mucho más seguridad. Esto quiere decir más
coming to
quiere
LAX.
decir que menos
One plane can handle 3 or 4
aviones pueden venir
loads
menos aquí,
from other planes,
pueden
right?
Absolutely, and not only is it larger,
entonces no
so you
solamente es
reduce
mucho
the
más
number of
grande, entonces se
operations, but
reduce el
it's
número de
also
operaciones,
cleaner
pero
in terms of
también
air
es más
and
limpio acerca
quieter in
del
terms
aire
of noise.
y
So
más,
there's all three
mucho
great
más
benefits.
menos ruido
Back
en
to
términos del
colleague
ruido ahora.
Smith and
Regresando al
Zine
colleague
regarding the
Smith and
police
Zine
situation.
acerca de
We
la
had the police here the other day. We learned 2 things about LAX. The officers that are assigned there in cooperation with you all and everything makes sense, have substantial overtime, which is ridiculous. And then secondly, on top of that, we have 22 other officers that you're not too sure if you want. Can you look at that whole policing issue? Because all that overtime takes away other overtime in the great city. If those 22 make sense, that would maybe mitigate the overtime. And also, we don't get reimbursed from LAWA for those other 22 officers.
You're exactly correct, and definitively, we would rather those 22 officers be deployed citywide. They are not necessary and essential to the law enforcement activities
las
of
actividades de
LAWA
la
or
gente, del orden público y el LAPD en el aeropuerto. De nuestro punto de vista, ahora el asunto acerca de las horas extraordinarias puede ser atacado cuando nosotros podemos llenar esas posiciones que tenemos disponibles y nosotros esperamos que encargarnos de eso más rápidamente. Ahora el comisionado de la policía no sé por qué lo hizo, tal vez en una razón por qué lo hicieron, tal vez el consejero Weiss, pero ellos simplemente acaban de aprobar ayer de nuevo los 22 adicionales que se queden ahí. Ahora, cualquiera sea la respuesta, me gustaría saber los respuestas. Le deseamos el mejor éxito otra vez. El alcalde ha hecho ahora una gran opción y estamos mucho mejor que usted. Agarró esta posición. Muchísimas gracias. Gracias, señor Rosenberg. El problema que me siento aquí, que yo no me puedo hacer mis preguntas, pero Lidia, bienvenida. Estamos trabajando aquí con usted y se le hicieron buenas preguntas. Ahora se presenta nosotros, la señorita actuaria, señor Blanco. Lidia, bienvenida de nuevo. Simplemente para que nos dé en general el aeropuerto de Los Ángeles, ¿qué tan grande es?
We handle over 60 million annual passengers, but that's just one of our facilities. The total is about 70 million among our 4 airports.
Es como 70 millones entre los 4
The site
aeropuertos,
is
pero
1,400 acres, a little plus or minus.
1,400
es
acres. And how many people
1,400
are employed
acres.
there?
¿Cuántas
I'm sorry,
personas
it's
tienen
3,500 acres. Ontario is 1,400 acres.
3,500 acres están aquí en LAX. ¿Cuántas personas son empleadas ahí bajo el departamento del aeropuerto? Y también yo sé que lo que estoy tratando de llegar es acerca del impacto económico. Una vez yo creo que el señor Burson era el consejero aquí y yo no. El 12 distrito que está al norte del valle, que tiene mucha conexión a otras partes de regiones de lo que es el aeropuerto. ¿Cuántas personas hay? Aproximadamente 45 o 50 mil personas que trabajan en LAX todos los días y somos un centro de operaciones de 24 horas. Nuestro impacto económico, no tengo yo los números, pero parece que antes de 9/11 es como 63 billones de dólares indirectamente y directamente económicamente el poder acerca de la región. 63 billones y eso es como un estadio de Dodgers Stadium, de las personas que llegan ahí. Ahora lo que yo sé, que yo estuve involucrado acerca de agarrar el Green Line, que podía llegar al aeropuerto, es tan importante que llegar al Green Line al aeropuerto. Ahora, una de las cosas que no entienden ahora el señor Rosenberg, ahora sé que el concejal del distrito, 2/3 de los aviones son como pasajeros y un tercero es cargo. Hay muchos cargos en la parte baja de estos aviones. Ahora tal vez mis números están un poco fuera del día, pero que no estaba ahí por 2 años, pero yo sé que como que yo me acuerdo, eran como un tercio del cargo. Viene ahora de la parte de abajo de los aeropuertos, de los aviones ahora también. Y también y todo ese aspecto.
One thing too, I just want to say, working with and this is a bigger issue, but the State Department, I want to always be a welcoming area. If you're in another country, you have to go to the capital city of that country and spend $500 to get a visa to come to America now, and I know there's challenges that we have, but that also, I see one day that stream drying up, and maybe some people like the stream to dry up, but I don't want the stream to dry up for Los Angeles. I think it's absolutely important that it continue to be a gateway for the world.
balance it out
para el
in
mundo
other
y
areas. I know when I met with
que lo
your
balance
officials from various airport
para
entities, I told
entidades
them I
del
support
aeropuerto
the
les dije que yo
modernization
respaldaba la
of Los Angeles
modernización de Los
International Airport, and they
Ángeles
all smiled.
aeropuerto y todos
And then when I told them I
sonrieron y cuando
supported
les dije
high-speed
que
rail to
yo
San Diego, Phoenix, Fresno, San
era
Francisco, and
respaldo
Oakland,
del
they frowned a little bit
San
because there's
Diego
competition, but we have to look
y
that way,
otras
as Mr.
ciudades no
Smith
les
spoke
gustó
of.
porque
I would say two
yo
long range,
diría
which is
que
not
dos,
really
lo
discussion,
cual
but
no está aquí
and
estamos
Greg, I'm
hablando,
looking at
pero
you too.
Greg,
You know,
estoy
everybody's talking
platicando,
about the
están hablando
10.
acerca de
If
el
the
10,
Green Line was
si
ever
la
converted to
Green
high-speed
Line
rail,
alguna
because
vez
it's
se
separate
convirtió
grade,
a
and worry
una
about what you got to do on Norwalk or come north on the 605, and transform the Slauson line to
ir
some
más
light
rápido,
rail,
dice,
that's a potential
ahora
to be
ese
thought
es una
of, because
potencial
high-speed rail is,
porque
when you
lo que
spoke
le llaman el
of
high
Munich,
speed rail
they have every hour an IC that goes all the way to the north of that country, or you go to Paris and you could be in
usted puede
Rome
estar
in
en
the same
Roma
day by
en el
train. It's
mismo
amazing how
día
they work that, but
por
we have to
tren.
look at
Es
that aspect of it.
maravilloso cómo esto
And Madam
funciona,
Clerk,
pero
my
tenemos
time
ahora
is not running, so I'm going to keep talking to you when the
eh,
time. You're so kind to me. I
ahora
want to let you know that.
señorita
Be the
Claudia,
welcoming place, be the safe place. Move the runways
ahora
that 50
mueva
feet. It's just 50 feet. 50 feet is here to the middle of this chambers right here. Because also I want to make sure that the new modern aircraft, which are the
aviones modernos que son los
Airbus A380
A380, which is 500
que es
plus.
passengers plus
500
passengers.
pasajeros
Those
más
500 plus
pasajeros,
passengers, if
500
they're not able to
pasajeros que
receive
no puedan
safely
recibir
and welcome here, they will fly to Las
seguramente
Vegas,
ellos
they will
van
fly
a
to
viajar a
Phoenix,
Las Vegas,
which
a
is the
Phoenix,
gateway to the Grand
que
Canyon
es el Grand
and a wonderful
Canyon,
part of America
una
and
parte maravillosa
New
de
Mexico
América, Nuevo
and
México
Colorado. They'll
y
fly to San
Colorado
Francisco.
van a ir a San Francisco,
And all of a
entonces
sudden,
y de repente
it will have a
van a
master
tener
effect on
un
all the issues of
efecto
our
bastante
community and
grande en
sense
todo el
of
asunto de nuestra
welcoming
comunidad al
people that I'm
bienvenir a
proud
las
of, the
personas
visitors
que
who
no
visited here,
están.
just like we had students from Princeton this morning.
Así que los
Congratulations
estudiantes
to you
de
and your family.
Princeton,
How old is your baby
esta
now?
hora que edad tiene su bebé,
3
tiene
years
3
old.
años de edad
What
su
did you do when you were
bebé.
gone?
¿Qué
Did
hizo
you
usted
just
cuando él
go
¿qué usted
to
hizo
see
cuando
every
estaba fuera?
museum in town
Usted
and
fue a ver a cada
just
museo en
enjoy?
hora.
What did you do
¿Usted
in
qué
the
hizo
off
durante
time?
sus 3
I'm
Well, let me
teasing
just
you.
let me put it this way. I think that my job at the airport is far easier than taking care of my 3-year-old on a full-time basis. I think all the other mothers here would agree.
Well, I know
Es
my
mucho
wife
más fácil
shares that same feeling, and God bless
el
all
trabajo
mothers
en
of the world.
aeropuerto
Without the
que,
mothers, we wouldn't be here. So God
cuidar
bless
a mi
you,
niño de
and
3
also
años.
safe
Dios la
working at the
bendiga
airport. And God bless the memory of your father, who was a great man. And Mr. Reyes, you'll be proud to know that her father was the architect for what is now the Mexican consulate right off of 6th Street. And the
Thank
work
you
that
for
he did.
remembering that. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other members of the council wish to
Otros
speak at
miembros
this
del
time?
consejero pueden hablar en este momento.
Seeing none, let's open the roll on confirmation.
Nada.
Close the roll
Ahora
and
vamos a
tabulate
cerrar
the
el
vote.
tipos.
13 ayes.
13 sí,
That is approved.
se ha aprobado. Muchas
Court, clerk,
gracias.
please. Colleagues, I received a request to take item 27 out
Ahora,
of
artículo
order. If
27
there's
de
no
orden. Ahora, si no
discussion
hay
on that
ningún
item,
diálogo acerca
would
de
there be
ese asunto.
discussion on item
¿Habrá algunos
27?
otros 27?
President, just a vote.
Okay, then let's open the roll
Vamos
on
a
item
abrir
27.
artículo 27.
Close the roll
Vamos a
and
cerrar el
tabulate the
mismo.
vote.
Vamos a
12
calcular
ayes, 1 no.
12 sís,
Okay,
1
that
no.
is approved.
Se fue aprobado.
Coming back to commissioner confirmations.
Regresando ahora a la
Madam Clerk.
Next item is item number 6, and that's confirmation of Ms. Maria Armudian to the Environmental Affairs Commission. EQ report has been submitted and distributed to the council.
Okay, if Ms. Armudian can come forward,
La
please.
señorita Armurian puede acercarse, por favor.
There she is.
Ahí está ella.
Councilmember discussion, Mr. Smith.
Ahora, señor Smith.
So I rise to wholly endorse Ms. Maureen's appointment. I've known her in the environmental community for a long time, and it's going to be a great shepherd of the environment for us on the Environmental Affairs Commission. And plus, she's a resident of Granada Hills, so she's extra special to me. Move your support and ask for your support. Thank you very much.
Le pido que le respalden y yo le estoy respaldando. Muchas gracias, señorita Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm as Chair of Environmental Quality Committee. I spoke with our candidate this morning, and I think she's eminently qualified and has a tremendous body of work behind her and some incredible ideas ahead. So I think she'll be a very strong addition to the Commission.
Other members wishing to speak? Seeing none, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next items, please.
Next items, Mr. President, are items 7 through 14. Those are all confirmations to the City Planning Commission.
Okay, if we can ask all the commission nominees to the City Planning Commission to come forward.
Que se acerquen a los nominados.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning
Buenos
to all of
días.
you.
Buenos días a todos ustedes.
Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. With great privilege, I'd like to introduce
Me gustaría presentarles a
a great
ustedes
array of folks,
unas gran personas
multidisciplinary,
bien
multi-skilled, a lot of
disciplinados, con
experience
muchas
in many different
habilidades, muchas
ways.
experiencias de muchas
You should know
maneras.
that we've already
Usted
conferred
debe saber
Robin
que ya,
Hughes
como
from the LA Community Design Center for
del Centro
the
de
City
Los
Planning
Ángeles
Commission.
para la
But before us,
comisión.
with colleagues, I'd just like to do a brief
Antes de
introduction of
eso, me
each
gustaría su introducción bastante breve
candidate.
de cada
We have Ms.
candidato.
Regina
Nosotros
M.
tenemos
Freire,
señorita Gemma M.
Associate
Freire,
Professor at Oxnard College and Chair of the
profesora de
Politics
Oxnard College.
Department.
y
She has
Departamento de
authored hundreds of
Política
publications on
Publica
race,
muchos
urban
temas
politics,
de
and demographic
publicaciones
change, and is
y
co-author of the book, The Next Los Angeles,
coautora del
The
próximo
Struggle
libro Los
for a
Ángeles,
Livable City,
The
and a
Struggle
resident
for
of
the
District
City.
8.
Y también
We also have with us Reverend Spencer T.
el reverendo Spencer
Kessios,
T.
is Pastor
es un
Emeritus of the
pastor
parish of
de
St.
la
Nicholas Greek
iglesia de San
Orthodox
Nicholas
Church in Northridge,
Orthodox,
serving
la
as
iglesia
pastor
ortodoxa.
for
Él
the
sirve
last
como pastor
45
por
years and is a
los últimos
resident of
45
CD12.
años, es un
Welcome,
residente.
sir.
El mismo
We have
nombre
with
de
us
la
Ms.
señora
Jane
con nosotros,
Allison
señora
Usher,
Jane Usher,
returns to City
que
Hall,
regresa aquí,
having
regresa
served
aquí
as
a
legal
City
counsel to
Hall
former Mayor Tom
como
Bradley.
Tom
She was the
Bradley,
principal force behind the merger of the former LA County
de la
Transportation Commission,
Comisión
RTD,
de
and helped create the
Transportes
city's
y
Ethic
Conductas,
Commission.
y también la comisión
She's a
ética.
former
Ella
assistant to
también,
and dean at USC's Annenberg School of
había
Communication
asistente de
and
Dean
continues to be
de
active in
y
community
continúa a ser
affairs.
activa
We have
en
Mr.
la
Michael K. Wu,
asuntos
who needs no
comunitarios,
introduction,
señor que
former
no
council
conoce.
member of the 13th
También
Council District,
miembro
is
concejal
currently
del
an
13 distrito. En
adjunct
este momento
instructor at
está
USC School
este
of
instructor
Policy
de
and Planning,
USC de Policía
consultant and board
Ambiental,
member of various
también
nonprofit organizations, former
organizaciones
general
no lucrativas,
manager of FlexCar,
el gerente
and headed the AmeriCorps under President Clinton, was also chair of Plum at one time. Twice. Okay, all righty. Vice chair. Just want to claim chairmanship, all right.
Simplemente quiero yo,
Mr. Andres F.
señor
Irlando,
Andres F.
president of Cesar Chavez Foundation, a graduate of Stanford Law School, and a resident of Silmar, is overseeing the campaign to complete the construction of the National Chavez Center. Ms. Sabrina Kay, CEO of Fremont Private Investments, former president of California Design College, an expert in fashion, heads her own foundation as a resident of CD10.
También
Mr. Diego Cardoso,
Señor Diego
the transportation
Cardoso,
planner with MTA, a former commissioner with the Housing Authority, an A2 City Council member, Alatorre, a graduate of Roosevelt High School. He's also a photographer and artist, former deputy. Welcome, Diego. Mr. William Roshan is the principal of Roshan Van Cleve Architects and is widely recognized for design innovation of mixed-use, transit-oriented development, housing, green building, and other urban development projects. He's resident of District 14. I want to welcome all of you to this great challenge. I know I've given you introductions, but maybe if you can just give us a statement of your role. And I ask this, folks, because we know that many of our issues, our policies, our impact as council members is in the built environment. The role you play in planning commission is significant on quality of life. We have a great challenge before us. As you know, we're searching for planning director, a new one. The city controller just released a critical audit of the planning department, so now is the time for strong leadership. The commission also sets land use policies for the city that speaks to where housing should be built. And just as important is how to create incentives, how to make the process more efficient, deal with timeliness, time is money. And these are the kinds of challenges we have to address to make this a livable city. And so, if you like, please start, Mr. Wu, with a brief statement for the body here. Appreciate your participation.
Thank you, Councilman Reyes, members of the council. The issues that were raised in the audit are not new issues. I also believe the issues are fixable issues if there is the political will. And so, while there are many specifics we could talk about, I look forward to the opportunity as a planning commissioner to work with my colleagues and the members of the council and the mayor to find the political will to solve these problems.
Thank you, Mr. Wu.
I'm Father
Yo,
Spencer Kezios,
el padre
and I
Spencer
would hope
Kesius,
that
yo
I could
espero
bring
que yo
prayerful
pueda traer
consideration to every matter that came
consideración
before
a
the
todo
commission
asunto
to
que viene
begin
aquí
with.
ante la comisión para empezar, pero
I'm very excited about being able to
estoy
serve,
contento
having
para poder
been
servir y
active in the
haber
community
ser
for the
activo en
last
la comunidad por
45
los
years
últimos
in
45
Northridge,
años ahí en
and
Northridge,
especially
y
proud of the fact
especialmente
that
estoy
for the last
orgulloso del
7
hecho que por
years
los
I've been a
últimos 7
chaplain of
años yo
LAPD.
también he sido
So I believe I have an overview of some of the
chaplain de
community
LAPD,
problems that we
algunos
face.
los problemas de la comunidad
My
que nosotros
experience
encaramos, mi
from
experiencia
building
de
quite a
construir
project
tal
in
proyecto
St. Nicholas, which
en
included a
San Nicolás,
parochial
lo cual
school,
incluyó
community
una
center,
escuela parroquial
senior citizens
y
housing,
una vivienda
has
para
given me kind of a first-hand
personas mayores de edad. Me
opportunity
ha dado
to
una
see how
oportunidad de
the
primera mano para ver
planning
cómo
department
es que el
works.
departamento
I have some thoughts, I have some ideas. I read with interest the report, the audit that was made, and I certainly look forward to working with my fellow commissioners and the staff in finding the appropriate solutions. Thank you.
encontrar las soluciones apropiadas. Gracias.
Thank you, council members. I second what my colleagues have just said. I would like to add to that, from my experience, there are cases and cases and cases that the Planning Commission and you see every day. And I think for us, the Commission is to try to find what's the common ground, what's the difference, how can we add to your vision, to your leadership, and make a difference. I think right now that we are at crossroads in the city in terms of transportation. The city of Los Angeles, every 30, 50 years, have taken this measured step, transitioning from one city to another. Now we have that opportunity today. We have a system, a transportation system, that it's becoming more and more integrated into the urban form. And I think as a commissioner, I will very, very much work with your offices in order to facilitate that. We just heard today what was said about the airport, the interest of some of the council members on the airport and getting there. And everybody in the city is now right now thinking about how do I get there? And then there's also a very, very important issue here, which is economic development and its linkage to land use and transportation. And I think that there are lots of opportunities in the city to address that. I think we have to be very, very smart as to how we deal with growth. Growth is not necessarily more volume and more building. Growth is also about efficiency of land use and being smart as to how we plan and how we deal with the infrastructure that we have. So with my experience and what I hear from you and the community, I think we can really make a great team and move forward to make a better city for everybody.
Thank you.
I'm Bill Roshan. Thanks for asking me to speak. I'm very optimistic about the opportunity to serve the city, a city that I just think is fantastic and growing, and I'm very optimistic about our time right now. There's terrific opportunity in Los Angeles based on the growth that's happening, which brings a responsibility to really focus hard on planning efforts. I've been very active locally and nationally, looking at green buildings, sustainable cities, livable cities. These are really growing sciences that really can apply to Los Angeles in many ways. Thank you.
Good morning, Jane Usher. I live in the historic core of the wonderful and great 4th Council District, of which I'm very proud. Councilmen, councilwomen, council president, we have walked through your door at a moment of unsettling transition for our planning department. We recognize that. We take the responsibility very seriously. I know we are all very honored to be here. 25 years ago, I began practicing law in this city, and my first cases were land use cases, and I appeared in this room. The planning department had some faces that are today still familiar ones. We've all aged a bit. I have a very deep respect for the planning department, for the people that fill those seats and do that work. I would say that that respect is matched and bested by my desire to make the very large dreams of our new mayor tangible. I hope to bring energy. I hope to bring vision to those tasks, a little bit of self-restraint, which will be very hard to do. You have sitting before you 8 horses that want to run out of this gate. Certainly yesterday's report was terrific food for thought and perhaps a starting ground for the 8 of us, joined by our 9th member. And I'm just hoping that we bring back to you in very short order a planning department that meets everybody's needs. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I'm thrilled and honored to be here. I must confess I have no background in city planning, so I start from ground zero in a plain blank paper, which probably gives me a lot of opportunity. And with my business background, I became a very responsible, deliberate person who understands fair practices and also hard work. I promised to serve well, and what really inspired me was a smart growth for the city, beautification and education that really served the second generation of our children. I plan to study very hard, work very hard, and promise that every single hearing that comes before us will have a fair trial, and I promise to be very nice.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm Regina Freer, and I think there's several buzzwords that have already been placed before you on the table that you all are probably very familiar with, but I will just reiterate that I hope to be able to move us forward in a visionary fashion. Obviously, pragmatism will have to have its place as well. I seek to balance the two. I want to make sure that we pursue equitable and fair development across our city, and I hope that we also think about making this a model city in terms of livability and sustainability. And I would be remiss if I did not mention that I have 3 of my students from Los Angeles Politics 207 at Occidental here, and they're also looking to this commission, this city, leadership to provide a more livable city for them. And so they're studying us hard, and so I really am on multiple hot seats. So,
thank you for your hard work.
Good morning, Andres Orlando. I too want to second the remarks of my distinguished colleagues here. I apologize to have my back to you, Councilman.
Please.
You know, we've talked at great length so far with the mayor's staff, you, Councilmember Reyes, other members of the Plum Commission, for sure the outgoing planning commissioners, and the commission staff and the department staff. And it's abundantly clear, I think, to me and to my colleagues that the work is big, and there are big challenges facing us. But like Mike said, I think we are excited about it and feel like those challenges are not insurmountable. It's clear that we need to spend more time on the vision thing, and think about, as the audit yesterday, as you have shared with us, as the mayor has shared with us, think about how do we build a city that is worthy of the 21st century, that is worthy of being the second largest city in the nation, and do that in a way that makes our city greener, makes our city more equitable, provides for more housing, particularly affordable housing, and does that in a sustainable way that has a vision toward the long term. It's also clear on the more mundane but equal level that we have some work to do around processing of cases, of streamlining the process, of ensuring that the process is equitable and inclusive of all Angelenos, not just those with the most means or those who are English speaking. And then, you know, we look forward to playing our role in the very important job of selecting the next planning director. So it's an honor to be nominated by the mayor for this very important job, and to, with your blessing, serve with this very distinguished panel in doing this important work for the city.
Thank you. And colleagues, as you know, given the crunch we hear outside, with over 50% of our youth dropping out, more than 60–70% of our population can't afford to buy a home in Los Angeles. We have all of these complicated issues facing us. So it's not only the vision aspect of it, it's the implementation. And we don't have the luxury to do one or the other. We have to do both simultaneously. And the skill set that we have before us, I believe, will get us to that point. So I want to thank Mayor Villaraigosa for his appointments, and I'd like to welcome my colleagues for any questions before the respective body.
Thank you, Mr. President, and what an impressive group of people. I've had the pleasure of probably almost all of you working with you during my time here in the mayor's office, and I think each of you bring an experience, even those that have not been involved in planning, because it is important to have a perspective, a new perspective, as we look at this. And it was mentioned by all of you the importance of the linkage between housing, transportation, and planning. Because I think there's no more difficult issue as an elected official. It's about development. We've all stand here and have those discussions so frequently. And a lot of times it's based on the traffic congestion it will create. How does it deal with the surrounding communities? And so I hope that as you talk about big picture, that we look at those linkages, and as you see projects come through, to be able to share with Ed as chair of Plum and his other members. I had the pleasure of serving on Plum for almost 2 years as well. And I almost think every council member needs to do that, to experience everything around the city of Los Angeles. But as chair of transportation, I've really found that linkage is so critically important. Again, your experience, I know that you will look at everything in a fair manner and to address all of those issues. As someone who appears before the Planning Commission, I know that you will understand as we come and advocate and the work that needs to happen with the community and the importance of public comment, the importance of public involvement in that process. You are taking on a tremendous task. These meetings are not just a couple hours long. They're longer than our city council meetings some days. But I know that all of you are up to the task. None of you are shrinking violets, those of you that I know well. Jane and I probably have known each other the longest in our experience through the mayor's office, and know that you will question council offices, you will question the developers and the public to say what's going to be best for that neighborhood, how can we work together. So my challenge is for you all to come back to us and let us know where we can change policies, where you're seeing common themes and threads of how we need to change policies. Looking at the controller's audit that came out and where we can see those that improvement. Again, because you every single week are going to be seeing some common problems, and so we need to look at that. And lastly, before my time goes up, the other issue that I think is very important is educating the public about the planning process and the neighborhood councils, because the more they are educated, the more they understand what the city's been going through, what changes need to be made in our policies. A lot of people don't understand what's a transportation corridor. What does that mean? What does density bonus mean? How does that impact? What is smart growth? And how to show them examples of where in some areas density works, in other areas it does not, and preserving the single-family neighborhoods, which I know, particularly in the San Fernando Valley, is very important to our constituents to do that. So I know you will give great respect to when our staffs come there and talk to you about what's important. I don't know if my staff member, Dale Thrush, is still here, but you will see him frequently at the commission meetings. But thank you for your commitment. This is probably one of the toughest commissions in the city. Everyone focuses on public safety and airport and harbor, and all those things are very important too. But there's nothing more sensitive and something that impacts every single one around this horseshoe than planning issues. So thank you for your commitment, and we will be working with you, but this is a two-way street, and so we hope that you will take that in. I'd love to comment on each of you. My time is up, but thank you to all of you again. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And to pick up where Wendy left off, I think, to quote the Eagle Rock Association, and you can actually take that throughout the entire city, Los Angeles is a place where land use politics is a full contact sport. So congratulations, and I hope you have your pads ready. And this is a great bunch of folks that the mayor has nominated. You know, Andres and I have fought many a battle together over the years. I had the great honor of teaching at the same institution as Ms. Freer, and look forward and glad there's a few Tigers that are here. I didn't see where they were, but I know you're somewhere there, right there. Somebody waved their hand. and Bill Roshan, who's been so great in Hollywood and working with him. And part of the reason it's been so great is some of the work that Councilmember Wu did to really lay down that platform for what's happening there now, and it was continued by Jackie Goldberg. And for the rest of you, Ms. Usher, Ms. Kay, you know, Mr. Cardoso, Father, it's wonderful to have an august body. I do want to ask you a question, though. I don't want you to escape without answering. Not all 8 of you have to answer it either, but, well, actually 2 things, if you just address. And I want to thank Mr. Reyes, too, because I think under his leadership, we finally have a toolbox that didn't exist here in the city for many, many years. The RAS zoning, the adaptive reuse, theyese things that Mr. Reyes has really helped shepherd through in a legislative way. In Ms. Perry's district, in my district, and other places, we're beginning to see the fruit bear. Mr. Reyes is working on a Green Roofs initiative, I know that you talked about as well, to look at how we can better utilize land where we think we don't have any to green the city. But my 2 questions are, one, and I know Mr. Orlando, with your work on the Affordable Housing Commission, what tools do you all see that the Planning Commission can use to help on affordable housing? More specifically, I know we had a big debate around inclusionary zoning, which continues. It's not the only tool, but if some of you could comment on what you really see the role of the Planning Commission to help that. I think there is a changing tide on the idea of density being able to be your friend, but if a few of you might want to comment on that. And then secondly, just kind of picking up on the green roofs, and we're looking at some sustainable building stuff. We've done that as a city. We're now looking at the private sector and how we can better bring that in. I know, Mr. Roshan, this is an area of your expertise as well, but how can we get better planning tools to encourage, either through expedited permitting or other tools, better green building here where we need it the most and where we have the best environment anywhere. So whoever wants to jump into any of this.
Councilman Garcetti, good morning. So that was a full plate that you just offered, but let me just try it this way. We have met twice now, I believe, 3 times perhaps, in various forums, but never a chance to work together yet as a commission. One of the things that was immediately evident to us is that we have 2 plates. We have the plate of equitably moving cases forward efficiently. And in some respects, that could be a full-time duty. But I think all of us have seen very quickly that we have this other plate. And the other plate is to create and reshape this department in the ways that you described. The tools that we will use to get there are going to be tentative ones during this phase without a planning director. I know we read the audit. I know we have met and thought about some of those issues. I don't mean to speak for everyone, but I believe the consensus of the group is that we will not wait for the new planning director, but rather we will ask the interim director and the staff to bring us to the fullest extent possible tools, ideas, reshapings that we can move on in advance to get the process started. And it will absolutely, our agenda will absolutely include putting more housing anywhere and everywhere that it's appropriate. And that includes low-income and moderate-income housing, and those issues simply cannot be ignored. We have a window of opportunity because the building cycle is with us. And I'd like to take full advantage of that window.
Councilman Garcetti, if I might answer that question in a very specific manner, which is I think that you have an incredible opportunity in the city of LA with a new transportation system. You have these corridors that offer you the ability to sustain growth in ways that you could not sustain with other types of transportation. So I think if you can merge that policy-making ability of the planning department with focusing on the transportation corridors, and also, for example, I'll give you a very specific example. In your council district, there's about probably 10 transit stations. Some of them have already started with some affordable housing, but probably not sufficient. But there has to be sort of a merging between the City of Los Angeles, the MTA, for example, Transportation Department of the City of LA, to put an effort to think and strategize as to how you can get there. And I think that you have that opportunity now as we speak. And that will allow you to come up with a sustainable approach to housing so that you don't encounter that dilemma that you always have, that when you build housing, someone else will say, don't do it here, do it somewhere else, and that will go on forever. So that's my answer. Thank you.
Councilman Garcetti, you're raising a really vital issue, and it seems to me the primary role of this commission is dealing with the location of where the housing is going to be. We won't be able to count on a Steve Lopez series every week to refocus public attention on the need for affordable housing, but I think that the message has come across in terms of addressing at least the money part of the issue, although that still is less than will be needed to address the full affordability issues. I think the commission needs to focus on place, ensuring that different parts of the city accept a fair share of the burden of affordable housing, so that not only a few parts of the city address that burden. Also, I think the relationship between location and density is something that we're going to have to address, whether through urban design controls or other ways to enable neighborhoods to be able to accept a fuller share of housing. And then coming to Councilwoman Gruhl's point about the connection between land use and transportation, this is another area in which this commission can potentially play a key role. It seems as if to address the issues Councilwoman Gruhl addressed in terms of gridlock and reducing traffic, we have to find ways to be serious about how to not just provide transportation alternatives, but also to reduce the number of cars. Not something that will be easy to do, but the Planning Commission will have tools available, whether on a case-by-case basis or on a broader policy basis, to try to find a way to cement a closer tie between land use and transportation. It seems to me that part of the problem with the process in the past is the disconnect between the decisions about how we deal with transportation, how we deal with parking specifically, and land use. So hopefully our commission will be one way to address this missing link that has deviled us in the past.
Councilman Garcetti, I guess one of the tools that I think is very powerful, and it seems very simple, but it's collective leadership, very much starting with the council offices and a participatory vision that we can work through civic engagement as well as through our own leadership. And the tools, a lot of the tools are there, and density is key, I think. And as we put together community benefit packages from the developers, from these sorts of efforts, I think we can influence in a very reasonable, pragmatic way a lot of these ideas of sustainable, livable cities.
Just one last note for all of you. No, and we've said this, I think, repeatedly. I know Mr. Reyes feels this way. Mr. Parks, as chair of the budget committee, has said this. We are a council willing, because you hear entire development community willing to have higher fees to get more people into this planning department, if it will help the backlog. We have not caught up in terms of the capacity of the department with the volume of projects that are out there. So I want to hear that loud and clear. I think I speak for all of us. I mean, it's not some tax we're putting on somebody who doesn't want it. There's a direct link. Some of those fees, we've been looking at those studies. We've done the work now in the CLA. The planning department has helped us with that. Help us, help you get those people as well. Thank you.
Mr. Rosendahl.
This is a great public policy discussion among ourselves and with the new commission, and obviously for those watching this and listening to it. Probably the biggest issue I have is land use issues in my district. The 11th district is the coastal district. The price of land is shot through the roof. About 48 to 58% of my folks are living in affordable rentals, and every one of them are threatened by the bulldozer and by right. So one of the tasks I put in front of you and challenge you is, how do we preserve affordable housing and middle-class housing in my district? You know, a developer is not a constituent. The developer is the bulldozer, and people matter over bulldozers, but it's a tough moment for my 11th district. Secondly, all my colleagues said the same thing. We have to have transportation and planning joined at the hip. At the earliest stage of a gleam in a developer's eye, the questions have to be addressed about transportation. How do we move people around? How do we move things around? And the third part of that is cultural historical preservation. That should be an early checkoff list, early in the process, not at the last minute. I think you all have a great opportunity with a new department that will emerge out of your leadership. I think the audit that has just taken place suggests a lot of things that need to be changed. But most importantly, we have to remember that people come first. I think
the mayor's budget of $100 million into this and $50 million for homeless and another $1 billion bond is all good stuff. But our city is in gridlock, and we have huge issues. So my bottom line question is, will you drill this down into the system so that transportation will hook with housing? And do you have any ideas of how I can preserve the affordable housing and the rental housing I now have in my district? Do we need to rechange our plans? Do I need to have a moratorium? What advice would you give me? And if I could ask you, Michael, first, you sat around this horseshoe, and you know a lot about planning. How do I preserve the middle class in the 11th district from the bulldozer?
Councilman, I'm not sure I can prescribe a solution for the 11th Council District, but it seems as if your district in particular, along with some of the other districts here, face both the positive and the negative side of the real estate boom that's happening in terms of the speculative pressures and pressures for new projects. And so it seems that there would be tools available to slow that down as part of the way to preserve the existing housing stock, whether through moratoria, interim control ordinances, things like that. Also, you are fortunate in your district to have at least one and maybe more very effective nonprofit housing developers. I'm thinking of Venice Community Housing Corporation, led by Steve Clare, and others. If they had the tools, which they have not had in the past, which in part is money and in part is support from the council office to do more projects, maybe that's one way to increase the supply of affordable units. But you may need to also find ways to slow down the effect of the real estate boom, raising property values, creating pressures on mom-and-pop owners to turn over property to make some money, and reducing the incentives of real estate developers to come into your district looking for ways to develop denser projects at the expense of existing affordable stock. But I think there are tools that could be available to you, none that are painless, but some that might work.
They are painful tools, and you're nodding your head there. I also want to have a better understanding of this Ellis Act business that our city attorney's office mumble about, but in fact people are being thrown out of their places, and that's just unfair. Please.
Oh, Bill, you want to? No, go ahead. Awful lot of things that I would like to suggest, but I would be premature because I haven't studied your district. You're posing that irreconcilable conflict. The irreconcilable conflict between the real estate boom that's present now, that might in fact be the solution. It may in fact be the very thing that would make affordable housing preservable. And at the same time, you're asking for tools that might slow it down when that window then closes. So we have to be faster and smarter. And how do we be faster and smarter without a planning director? I think we all just have to hit the ground running. And I think each of us, together with the interim director and staff, need to focus on the issue exactly as you posed it, because it isn't fair.
Yeah, it's not fair, and right now I have 80 projects that were in the pipeline from my predecessor, of which 30 were major, and another 30 have come my way. So there's over 100, and many of them gigantic, and the folks in the district just think it's over the top.
Well, excuse me, I promise you that none of us will be happy should the day come when your district lacks affordable housing.
I just wanted to make the point in response to your question also, Councilmember Garcetti's, that while it would be premature at this point to identify specific tools, particularly for some of us who don't have an extensive background in planning, there's 2 points I want to stress. One is based on many conversations we've already had about a shared vision, and correct me if I'm wrong, and commitment to providing and ensuring to the best of our ability within this capacity as much affordable housing as we possibly can. Even more than tools at this stage of the game, the commitment, it would seem to me, is even more important. It's something I think is shared and gotten from the folks at this table. And the second point I would make, it's a subtle distinction, but one I think is important, which is, and it was made eloquently, I think, by Councilmember Garcetti, Henry Cisneros, and others at the Mayor's Housing Summit, last week. It's something that I experienced as a former member of the Rent Adjustment Commission, which is when we talk about affordable housing, as your question highlights, there's often a lot of emphasis put on home ownership, which is critically important, but the point was made that arguably even more important than affordable home ownership at this moment in time in this city is the affordability of entry-level rental housing. And that too is something that sort of we've been exposed to. Again, I don't want to talk for my colleagues, but I personally understand and get the importance of that, and to the extent that we can have an impact on that through tools that have been identified and hopefully new tools, you have my personal commitment to that.
Thank you. You know, the previous head said to me what you basically need is tenants' rights protected even stronger, and that if the Ellis Act comes in, a larger relocation money and other things would make it less attractive to just throw people out. So we need to strengthen the tenants' rights organizations as well, please.
I think in a dream world, if you have 50% of land use for residential and 50% of land use for commercial, and every single person who worked in that district worked there and lived there, there will be no traffic issues and there will be no housing issues. That would be the dream world. Obviously, that's not going to happen in the reality. What we need to do is look at it in a macro vision of where we want to be and plan it ahead. I think a lot of the traffic and housing issues have created because we didn't really foresee the future. And for example, when Yahoo moved to Santa Monica, it added 2,000 cars on 10 freeway, almost reversed the traffic flow just by accepting that one company without thinking about the housing issues. So we promise we will look at the macro vision and look at every single case that comes before us.
That's very refreshing. You know, Santa Monica has 3% of the people, but 8% of the jobs, and so people come into the district in the morning for their job center. Well, I really appreciate it, and I hope that the Planning Commission can reach out to the other cities, like there are 3 other cities, jurisdictions, Santa Monica, Culver City, and the county in mind, and I'm getting those 4 planning departments together, so right hand, left hand. We obviously need to do that throughout the great county of LA and the region. Congratulations, you all. Thank you.
Mr. Labange.
I wanted to stand and thank you for your service. If I did an instant poll right here, how many been a victim of crime in Los Angeles the last year, if you'd raise your hand right there? 1, 2, 3. How many been impacted by traffic in Los Angeles the last 24 hours? You know, and so you see it real clearly. But then we all come from somewhere. And do we change our patterns? I know I have a little note to myself when I was on the MTA board here. When I changed my patterns and I found out that I got home a little more on time when you were on transit, but are we going to change our patterns? Michael, you talked about being a little rough there, but are we going to change our patterns? I would just like to ask you to look for the neighborhood perspective. And I think you spoke about, you work with council staff, but working with that neighborhood to see. Los Angeles is a city of great neighborhoods and great people. And I know we're seeing our city change and transform, and I support much of that, especially in their transit corridors. But also to preserve neighborhoods are real important, whether it's in Lincoln Heights, or whether it's in Westdale, or whether it's in Sherman Oaks, or in any part of the 4th District. But where it can be taken, and I don't know what the numbers are, Mr. Reyes, what district has produced the most housing units in the last 3 years? I don't know. What are the numbers? You predicted 13 and 1?
13 and 1 I've been reminded by many of the not in my backyard types that would tell me.
But that's okay.
Well, no, but just let me finish.
Right.
That District 13 and District 1 have absorbed the highest number of affordable units in the city. So,
what's my number?
I don't want to cut into your time, but I'll say what I have to say when I.
No, that's okay. Yeah, but I mean, I think that's a clear point. People want their neighborhood too. They want their neighborhood too, and I think we have to look on the transit corridors. And as Wendy spoke eloquently in the beginning, after you, Ed, and to say that education is so important. We have a situation where people come from New York and they buy in West LA and then they move east because east is bigger and maybe it's a little funkier than staying out in West LA. Where's Bill Rosendahl? And they come east and then all of a sudden they're living on a street that's multiply zoned. And all of a sudden an old building comes down and a big building comes up. and they don't understand it. Educating the people of what the zoning is, working with the real estate industry, what the zoning is, so to be fair and competitive. I know a big decision you made, Michael, is when in '85, when the methane broke, and at the same time there was an argument on we will send the subway down Sunset, which may have been better because of spread and density in that corridor. But the TV and radio people didn't want it. They moved. They're gone. CBS is leaving this year and next, right, Wendy? Going to Studio City. Metro Media went out. Channel 5 is still there because Stan Chambers is still there. They'll always be there as long as Stan's there. But the point being, there was a decision that was made, So you really have to look long. And I think the other commissions, the area planning commissions, are so important to you to make sure you take care of neighborhoods. It's a city of great neighborhoods, of great people, but trying to balance that out. And we can't solve all the problems. And it's not just Los Angeles. 70% of the growth is in Basin, but it is the Inland Empire. But the Inland Empire works in West LA, or someone who works for the city of Los Angeles lives in the Inland Empire, and that vice versa. I'd like to introduce Renee Weitzer, who has just been appointed my chief of staff this morning, as well as the director of planning. And I know each of us have a planning officer that works for our office. And I want to thank the chair of the committee, because it is a very tough job. I think you started off again when you spoke to the many good points, how tough it is on planning. But you have a great thing. And I think it was good that you followed the airport director, to understand that. We look forward to working with you all. But it's neighborhood preservation. And I know we're all passionate about housing, but I don't want to see neighborhoods get overbuilt to where they're not desirable. It's that balance that's necessary. Thank you.
Mr. Reyes to close.
Thank you, Council President. As you can see, this is going to be a real interesting dance as we go through this process. I just want to take this opportunity not only to thank you and thank the mayor, but I'd like to challenge my colleagues. I'd love for us to have either a plum committee or a special planning commission meeting in your district where you rally all of your interest groups and you pose the question, where do you see housing in your district? It'd be great to be in a position where each one of us has the ability to tell the developers, to tell the both nonprofit, for-profit, government, interest groups, can you tell me where you see housing being built? And imagine if we can impose the types of legislative actions, the special use districts, the RAS zones, and actually create some level of predictability that would cut off the lawsuits, that would allow us more funds for a better quality product and housing. It would connect us to the transit-oriented types of facilities, whether it be stations or very busy intersections with 6 to 8 bus lines. We'd have a connectivity that would make sense. But it really is up to us, council members. As you heard the outgoing planning director, he had to dance every time one of us screamed the loudest and the longest in his face to get the work done. Well, we didn't have a staff that can respond as quickly as we wanted. So this is a dance that takes two partners. And the partnership is us as council, commissioners, working together. So imagine the clock is ticking, term limits is real. Some of us have 3 years left and we're gone. So what did we do for our districts from a housing point of view, an infrastructure point of view? So I would love to have Plum in your district with that one simple question. Where do you see housing in your district? That, I think, would help us go a long way. Thank you very much. I urge it for the distinguished body.
Thank you, members. I believe we're ready for a vote. Madam Clerk, please open the roll on items 7 through 14. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Congratulations. Forthwith on all those items, please. Madam Clerk, an announcement on item number 4.
Yes, Mr. President, there is a request to continue that matter for 2 weeks, but the date would be November 16th, which is the off-site. I don't know if there was going to be a new date on that.
Okay, let's, how about 2 weeks minus 1 day?
The 15th?
The 15th. Item 4 is then continued Next item, please.
Next item, Mr. President, is item number 15, and that's confirmation Ms. Sharon Lowe to the East LA Area Planning Commission.
Okay, is Ms. Lowe here?
Yes,
She can come forward. There she is. Members, this is item 15, another commission nominee before us. Members wishing to speak, Mr. Reyes.
thank you, Council President. We just engaged the Planning Commission, the main body of the city, but just as significant are all the area planning commissioners. These are the folks that drill down to the street-to-street, neighborhood-to-neighborhood level issues. The intensity doesn't get any less at that level, so I want to thank Sharon Lowe for stepping up. Mayor Villaraigosa has appointed her to the East Los Angeles Area Planning Commission. So with great pride I can share with you, she's been a strong advocate for the working communities. Her legal background gives her an incredible point of view. My bias is she was my environmental justice deputy, worked heroically on the lead abatement program, dealing with the lead issues affecting our children in our various housing facilities. And I'm just very proud and glad to see her before us. And Ms. Lowe, would you like to share a few words with us?
Thank you, Councilman Reyes. And thank you, council members. It's nice to be back here at City Hall. My short departure, and now I've returned. I actually like feel more comfortable being on the other side of the podium. As the council member pointed out, I have far more years of history as a community and legal advocate on behalf of neighborhoods in particular. I've had the pleasure of listening to the wonderful policy discussion for the City Planning Commission. However, for the East LA Area Planning Commission, I'm very proud to be here today and to be able to speak on behalf of and represent the interests of the neighborhoods of Council Districts 1, 4, 13, and 14. I'm a resident of CD 14, a former resident of CD 1, and a former resident of CD 13. So I've also had the pleasure of representing numerous neighborhood organizations and community organizations in South LA, East LA, and Central Los Angeles. So I look forward to continuing that. And one of the most important things as a legal advocate, and particularly as an environmental justice advocate, all the issues you mentioned fall under that. Economic development being one of my specialties, clearly affordable housing, representing the interests of tenants, home ownership fraud, which is increasing, especially with the increase in the remodeling industry, since many of our homeowners, particularly seniors and new immigrants who are just first-time home ownerships, and our planning department and building and safety are probably, unbeknownst to them, assisting the home ownership because of the complexity. So, Councilmember Grewal, education is very key for our seniors who are easily susceptible. One of the things that was mentioned in the audit is the one-stop permit processing and how that needs to be far more effective, and educational outreach to communities and working in concert with the neighborhood councils and the home ownership associations throughout our neighborhoods is very key, because as an advocate, having represented seniors who've lost their homes through home ownership frauds from numerous, because it's so complex. And now, as you see, every television show is do-it-yourselfers, and the small, contractors who come knocking on your door, and they say, "Oh, I'll get you your permit," and they think they're safe, and they don't realize how much they've lost because the process seems so overwhelming. I mean, I'm trying to do my own remodeling, and I have inside route to people, and I'm still trying to understand it as an attorney. So you can imagine for senior citizens, and particularly for immigrant populations who are non-English speaking, and within the 4 council districts that I mentioned, particularly the Latino and the Asian Pacific populations are very huge, and they want to get out there and they want to improve their homes. I heard Councilmember Rosendahl, particularly as it relates to improving the rights of tenants, and I have to point out that both the Councilmember Reyes and Councilmember Garcetti pushed forward the ordinance and the rent stabilization ordinance modifications, which amendments where we did increase the relocation assistance, and it's not enough because the real estate market keeps going up, but it is a major step forward. And gentrification exists within our communities, and so that balancing act, and I hope to bring that to the East Area Planning Commission as an advocate. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Stand to urge an aye vote and have the great talent before us, Ms. Lowe, legal advocacy, her passion on this board. Ask for an aye vote.
Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you, Ms. Lowe. I think you covered almost all the questions I would have asked, so and covered them really well. And it was a great pleasure working with you when you were here as well. And thank you, Mr. Reyes, for being a part of the impact that you had here already. And on the East Planning Commission, it covers obviously a lot of important areas. It's where I live as well. And I think, again, turning people's thinking, especially around parking on affordable housing, is going to be really critical. You know, those 1-to-1 ratios are always less parked than the 2-to-1, but in people's minds, they're today even killing by right things through their pressure on thinking that they're going to get better parking situation with 2-to-1 at market rate, and they're not. And I know where your heart is on that, so we really look forward to working with you, and congratulations.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Other members wishing to speak? Seeing none, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Forthwith, please. Next item.
Next item is item number 16, confirmation of David Carson to the Board of Transportation Commissioners.
Okay, Mr. Carson, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Colleagues, again, we have a commission nominee before us with a committee report recommending approval. Members wishing to speak? Ms. Gruhl.
Thank you. Sorry, I had pushed it, but it came back again. Just wanted to stand up and say we're very excited about Mr. Carson being appointed to the Transportation Commission. We had a great public hearing a week ago for his appointment. I was glad you were here to listen to all of the transportation/planning issues that were raised in the last confirmation. I was very impressed at our Transportation Commission meeting. He stayed for the whole, I think the entire meeting, listening to some of the issues. So appreciated his background and legal work, and I think his legal aid has been a great addition. So we're just looking forward to having you on the commission.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Gruhl. Mr. Labange.
Commissioner B, you saw that instant poll? You saw what traffic is?
Oh, yeah.
So you know that. Where do you live in the city?
I live in Village Green, CD8.
Good. So when you drive around the city, get off the freeways.
Or ride the bus around the city.
Oh, ride the bus. You ride that? You're a bus rider?
Sure, rode the bus here.
Oh, good. All right. Well, look, that's Sharon DeLukic. I think you should be commended as well for that. Good job.
That was easy.
What line?
I rode the red line up from Broadway in Manchester.
Great. Oh, that's good. The Metro Red.
Yeah,
bus. That's good.
The Rapid.
Rapid bus. That's good. Where'd you grow up?
I was actually born in Venice, but I grew up in the Bay Area, in the Palo Alto area.
And you know, the one thing I know this is long range. You know, we had the planning department. We were talking about planning a little moment ago, but Bay Area has that Bay Area Rapid Transit that's part underground and part above rail, and use that great expertise. So I think that's a very tremendous appointment the mayor has here, who has someone who not only rode transit here, but also has very much involved in your life, so you know the importance of that.
Yeah,
Bring that
I
fresh
definitely
perspective.
I hope to see some of the things that happened up there. I was actually a founder of a nonprofit that did transit-oriented development in the Bay Area, so I hope to see some of the stuff that we were working on up there happen down here as well.
Great. Good luck to you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Other members wishing to speak? Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you.
Forthwith, please. Next item.
Next item is item 18, and that was called special by Councilmember Zine.
Mr. Zine. Mr. Zine.
I think I was talking to a colleague. Thank you, Mr. Cardenas, for getting me scolded again. It worked. No, on this item, we want to make known that those employees, city employees, are going to be going to help the rescue efforts in New Orleans and other areas, that their salary would be matched. We do this to military personnel. When they go on deployment, that their military salary will be matched by the city salary so they don't lose any money. And I just wanted to emphasize that we're doing that for any of the city employees, as the mayor has put out that word for city employees who wish to go to help with the rebuilding efforts. Where the hurricanes damage the property, the salary benefits will be matched, so there's no loss to the employees that do that for the people. that are in jeopardy in those other parts of our wonderful country. Thank you.
Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you, Mr. Zine, for that. And number 52 is a Katrina item, too, that we can just kind of move forward. And it's with the CRA and housing are working together, CRA specifically, on helping some of the folks that are here. But just as long as we were talking about it, I didn't want to take everybody's time, so we can move that forward at the same time.
Okay, so we can consider items 18 and 52 concurrently. Any other comments, colleagues, questions? Seeing none, let's give the clerk a minute here. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Those are approved. Next item, please.
Next item is item 35, and that was called special by Councilmember Gruhl.
Ms. Gruhl.
Thank you, Mr. Padilla. We do have cards on this item. Colleagues, I'd like to ask for a 10-minute public hearing, 5 minutes on both sides, even though there had been a public hearing in the Plum meeting. And just a reminder, the city attorney wanted, this is a quasi-judicial matter that is before us today. So if you could, we'll call up the speakers, Mr. Padilla will, for 5 minutes for the opponents and those of proponents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And just for the record, public hearing was held on this item in committee. The council is allowing us to reopen the public hearing to hear additional testimony here at the full council. So what I'll do is I'll ask the clerk to put up a 5-minute clock, and I'll call a series of names, cards that have been submitted, I think, against the proposals, what I have in my hand first. I'll ask you to please form a line behind the podium and introduce yourself as you begin to speak. Please be as brief as possible and not too repetitive of people who have spoken before you. When the 5-minute clock runs out, we will stop one side of the arguments, hear from people who are here on the other side of the issue, and then proceed with council deliberation. So the longer you speak, the less people on your side of the issue are going to be able to speak. So please respect those waiting behind you. Council calls forward at this time Michael Britton, followed by Charles Payton, Jim Britton, Scott Taylor, Kevin Scott Allen, Richard Weinstock, and German Apazu. Please come forward. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Charles Payton, and I have a business at 5228 Laurel Canyon Boulevard. My constitutional rights have been denied me for 5 years now. My rights 100% have been denied. The public is put in danger every night by this establishment next door. Why is it put in danger? Building and Safety has cited them 5 times. 5 citations from Building and Safety. The one as recent as last month. The fire department has cited Kulak's Woodshed last month. It's not safe. Why are they allowed to? I'll read from one of Kulak's newsletters. Wendy Gruhl's people worked their hearts out for me. This is on May 7, 2004. They shuttled me in their car, and I accompanied them as they wound me through City Hall, cutting through red tape. They made phone calls, set up emergency meetings, talked to the police commissioner, and necessary powers to be. Now, is this an abuse of authority? Abuse of privilege? Where is my right? Here's another one when Building and Safety threatened to shut them down on 8105. This is Kulak's newsletter here going out to his 1,000 patrons or whatever. Department of Building and Safety called me yesterday, August 1st, and said they were closing us down immediately. We called Wendy Gruhl's office, and within 2 hours, her office had straightened the matter out and got the Department of Building and Safety to permit us to operate. Now, our public safety is being jeopardized nightly here. It's being jeopardized, and people are in danger in this building. I ask that somebody recognize this and somebody stop it, because he's applied for a conditional variance. If there's parking, off-street parking, I ask that somebody show that, because there isn't. Over a year, it's been padlocked. He hasn't been able to use it. The application was false, fraudulently filled out, saying he's entitled to a variance that other businesses enjoy in our neighborhood. There are no other businesses in our neighborhood enjoying such a variance. This is a fraud, and I want it stopped, and I ask that you recognize that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have about 2.5 minutes left on this side of the issue. Next speaker, please.
To follow up on that, Mr. Thrush has showed up at every meeting on this.
Your name, sir?
I'm Jim Britton. Been a big proponent of this venue to the detriment of other people in the neighborhood. He has accused me and one other person who have showed up at every meeting of just being psychos out with a personal vendetta. There are a few other people here today from the neighborhood. It's not easy for businessmen to leave their businesses during the business day to come and testify, but there are a lot of people in our neighborhood who have been against this from the very beginning. I hope that you please hear the voices of some of these other people that are here today. Thank you.
Hello, I'm a resident of Valley Village, and I ask each and every one of you to look at the issue here. It's not about a lovely little music venue. It's about a man who has consistently and purposely and intentionally violated the city codes and ordinances that this council put forth, and now asks you to let him be considered above these ordinances and to get away with it. He has broken the law, he's established a business, he has bragged about it, and we are saying, please, look at the precedent you're putting your names on public record as upholding. The precedent that anyone can come in here, violate a code and ordinance, and then get away with it. This time it's a music venue. What's it going to be next time? A bar, a strip joint? And who will we have to thank for allowing this to happen in our city? The city council, the people we look to help us. We entrust you with the responsibility of keeping our neighborhoods livable and safe. Please do not violate that trust.
Your name, sir?
Kevin Scott Allen.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Good afternoon. My name is Richard Weinstock. I'm the owner of the property at 5224, 26, and 28 Laurel Canyon Boulevard. We are adjacent to Ku Klux Shed. It's a wonderful venue. People love it. They come there, they enjoy it. The only problem is it's in the wrong location. We depend on parking on Laurel Canyon Boulevard for our tenants, and we're not privy to a public parking lot. We're not privy to a large shopping center where a lot of cars park there. We need this for our tenants. Our tenants are open in the evening, and if they don't have parking, they're going to lose their customers. I'm going to lose my business. It's just not fair to the neighborhood. We're all suffering for this. Thank you.
Thank you. These 5 minutes are up. I will have Mr. Michael.
I think there's only two people. Would you mind if we just had the last two, if they would be brief to allow them to know their public comment? If that would be okay with my colleagues. Thank you.
Hello, my name is German Apazov. I represent here the apartment building or the neighborhood was located directly behind these businesses. And all what we want to ask, if it is possible, please, just music sometimes goes loud. We have children, we have the people who have the disability, and I have the couple signatures here who live in that side. And sometimes it's really loud, and a lot of cars go to alley, and the big noise. We like music, just right place and right time, if it is possible, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Britton. I'm a California State University Northridge student studying finance and real estate. My family owns the business directly abutting the proposed variance site. I'm against the granting of this variance because it directly violates the law and threatens the rights of my family and other local businesses and residents in the area. Decision makers have bulldozed this variance through the system despite the many flaws, inaccuracies, and outright lies evident in the variance application. At the recent neighborhood council meeting, Mr. Dale Thrush of Wendy's Gruel's office referred to Mr. Britton, my father, and Mr. Payton as, quote, psychos. Rather than conduct an unbiased investigation on the issues of this case, the decision makers have chosen to ignore the law and the major concerns, including the protest of 13 legitimate business owners on our block, the Homeowners Association, and our neighborhood council. As our local council member, it is Ms. Gruhl's job to represent the entire neighborhood without playing favorites. Her continued support of the entertainment industry should not come at the expense of local legitimate businesses and residents. Although we lack the physical presence of some of our supporters because they are small business owners, unable to rearrange their business schedules around city council hours, I assure you we represent a large voice in the community, and we are being ignored. Please don't approve this variance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We had actually a total of about 7 minutes, so we'll reset the clock for 7 minutes if possible, and hear from the following individuals now. Andrew Rigrod, Helena Ma, Tom Hubbard, Jay Friedman, Dave Kinwan, Rick Taylor, David Bell, John Livings, Joe Hamilton, Lawrence Garcia, Craig Lincoln, Henry Solis, and Sanford Rogers. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, my name is Andrew Rigrod. I am Paul Kulak's friend and attorney, and I've been with him through most of this journey to get this variance. And before I get into the specifics, I would just like to have the council have a little perspective on what Kulak's is. Basically, about 30 people get together, mostly singer-songwriters with playing guitars, about 3 times a week starting at 7 p.m. on Laurel Canyon Boulevard, which at that location is very wide and very dead at that time of night. This is not during business hours, and it's a few nights a week, and it's 30 people. Now, I've gone there a number of times. I've never had a problem parking, and you wouldn't even know that anything was going on. You cannot hear the music when you're walking down the street. It's only when you open the door that you can hear the music. Now, I've been very impressed by the way the city has handled this and the amount of time that the city has spent taking into account everybody's concerns, not just Mr. Kulak's concerns. Wendy Gruhl's office and Dale Thrush and Lourdes Green and all of the city has worked on this. But I particularly want to thank the Valley Village Neighborhood Council, who listened to 2 nights of testimony. My guess would be 8 or 9 hours of testimony where everybody got their chance to speak, including the people that are appealing. And their concerns were taken into account when the Valley Village recommended the variance. They didn't just recommend it without conditions. They recommended it with conditions that the music be low enough so that it not disturb the neighbors, that there be sufficient parking and that there be some arrangement for parking, and that even the trash should be picked up. Now, as I said, I've gone there a number of times. I've never had any problems with parking or the loud, could not hear the music. And I want to thank the city for the very thorough job that it's done. And I think that Kulak's is a wonderful place and that the city has been very fair to all concerned. And this variance should be granted and the appeal should be denied. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Helena Ma. I am a homeowner in Van Nuys and a business owner in North Hollywood. I would like to read a couple paragraphs on my 6-minute statement in behalf of Kulak's Woodshed. Kulak's Woodshed is good for the community. For countless times I have seen, heard many benefits people get out of the place. They express how coming to the place has brought a sanity into their lives. This is a place where our souls are enriched over and over again by being with the fellow musicians and immersed in the music of original singer-songwriters. Mind you, Kulak's Woodshed does not replace the importance of having our own spiritual place like a church. It is not a spiritual awakening place, but it is a place to nourish the soul. It is a stepping stone to find out what's precious to our life. As we have many worries from the past and fears about the future, but when you are at the Kulak's Woodshed, you can forget about all those problems. We can appreciate the gifts of music and see life in a renewed way. It is a place to celebrate the talents of others. It is a place to express one's own need to share the talents. Sure, our common base is music, but it's only a top layer. The deeper layer is that we all want to be loved and share love. Kulak's Woodshed was founded and is operating in that model, a labor of love. Thank you.
My name is Tom Hubbard. I've been a regular at Kulak's Woodshed for many years. I'm a homeowner in the Valley Village area right down the street. Andy wanted me to mention something he left out, which was that the Valley Village Neighborhood Council regards Kulak's Woodshed as a cultural asset to the neighborhood. Respect your comments earlier. I found out first about Mr. Britton's complaint about the trash being left in front of his place of business just about a year ago, in the middle of November last year. Since then, I've attended pretty much every Monday night open mic and probably about half of the Friday and Saturday shows, which makes about 2/3 of the performances over the past year. I have made it my practice to go next door when I leave the show and look for garbage in front of Mr. Britton's place of business. In 2 weeks, less than 1 year, I have found one empty cigarette pack, one unidentified piece of cellophane, and one used lottery ticket. That's in 1 year. I'd also like to mention that I'm a volunteer with Pet Orphans, an animal shelter in North Hollywood. Is that time, or do we have
Please be
more?
mindful of the time.
I have taken about a dozen shelter dogs to the shows at Kulak's Woodshed. And when returning them to the shelter the following morning, the kennel manager usually compliments me on how calm the dogs are, how relaxed they are after attending a show the previous evening. I offer this in evidence that Kulak's Woodshed is not a dive, joint, hangout, nightclub, or speakeasy. It's a place where people come together to hear music and make harmonies together. Thank you.
Thank you. Be mindful of the time. We have quite a few speakers. Please come forward. Continue.
I'll be quick. Kulak's definitely relaxes me. And my name's Jay Friedman. I'm a homeowner in Sherman Oaks. 2 issues. As far as parking, I've been to a lot of venues like this around town. This is the only place where there is parking always. That part of Laurel Canyon. I've lived in the valley for over 40 years, and there's nothing going on there business-wise, or very little going on there that's open after 7 o'clock. So there's always parking. The issue of loud music, many times to show dissatisfaction what's going on with the shows at Kulak's, the gentleman that's opposed to having Kulak's turns his sound system up so loud that that's the music that you hear from the street, but not the music that's being performed at Kulak's. So I'm definitely in favor of keeping this venue open. It means a lot to a lot of people. Thanks for letting me speak.
My name is Dave Kanoin. My family and I attend Kulak's Woodshed as audience, but I'm also a performer. Mr. Payton and Mr. Britton's comments are not completely without merit. However, I've noticed that there's been great improvement in all the things that have been asked of Kulak's Woodshed by North Hollywood Council and other places. Now, there's an obvious and sincere effort to be good neighbors. And I want to be one of those persons who, when there is friction, to be a peacemaker. I think that what has happened here is that there's been bad feeling, and that Mr. Britton and Mr. Payton do not want to lose, quote unquote, but I think everyone can be a winner here. Kulak's is a gem in the crown of the City of Angels, a place we don't want to lose, and I believe that we could not only keep Kulak's Woodshed, but also repair the relationship between Paul Kulak, Jim Britton, and Charles Payton. I do believe that, and I'm willing to not only invest my money, which I have to a substantial extent.
Your time is
and
expired, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll announce the rest of the names of the people who filled out cards. Rick Taylor, and checked off for the proposal. David Bell checked off for the proposal. John Livings checked off that he'd like to make general comments. Joe Hamilton checked off the box against proposal. Lawrence Garcia checked off the box for proposal. Craig Lincoln checked off the box for the proposal. Henry Solis did not check off a box. And Sanford Rogers checked off the box saying he's general comments. Thank you very much for participating. First person is Ms. Gruhl.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. If I could ask Lourdes to come up to the table and other staff where necessary. Colleagues, this is a place on Laurel Canyon, and it was stated today that we did special favors for Kulaks. What we really did is what we would do for anyone who comes into the door. I had never met Mr. Kulak or anyone else until we got a call indicating that both Building and Safety and the Police Commission had some concerns about their operating in their current location. And as we would do on any issue, we brought in all of the individuals within the city to see what the problems were, what the issues were, and were they resolvable. If the city had come back to us and say that it was not possible for them to locate there, we would have said to Kulak's Woodshed and others, you know, look, you've got to find a different location. But what we found in talking to both the Police Commission and the Planning Department and Building and Safety is that some of their issues were curable. Some of those issues could be resolved by either a variance or a clarification. And so we asked Kulaks to obey the law and go through the process. And we worked, again, very closely with the Police Commission. And yes, my staff attended every meeting on this issue as they would, again, anything that happens in Valley Village, Sherman Oaks, Sunland, Tujunga, whatever the issue may be, my staff went and listened at every instance, including Neighborhood Council and the Homeowners Association. Kulaks needed a live entertainment venue, needed a permit to operate, but he couldn't get that until he cleared up building and safety issues. He couldn't get that until we clarified the city's zoning laws, and so really we were in a catch-22. But what we did is ask each of the departments to tell us what Mr. Kulak needed to do to bring him into compliance. And so this has gone through the zoning administrator. It has gone through the Area Planning Commission. The appeals were denied at the Area Planning Commission. The appeals were denied at the Planning and Land Use Committee. I think it was last 2 weeks ago. I've received numerous emails on both sides. I've met with some of the opponents in my offices on a Saturday morning, not during business hours, for my office hours, to talk to them about their issues. And I think, as Mr. Kenyon mentioned at the end in his remarks, which was, yes, there was some room for improvement. And we're still, as Mr. Kulak has, hopefully today will get the permits required, Building and Safety and others will still be monitoring to make sure that he is following the law. On the parking issue, I know that they have an agreement with a private school. I know that they have been working with planning. And if you could just real quickly, Lourdes, explain what variances are before us today.
Okay, sure. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Lourdes Green, Office of Zoning Administration, Planning Department. The variance is the appeal that's in front of you, and that variance was because this was a use that is actually not defined very clearly in the code, and certainly when there's a use that's not defined, then the reaction of the Department of Building and Safety is really to kick it into a variance. And it's not a restaurant, it's not a club, it's a little bit of everything. So the variance was to determine whether there was any rights to it in the zone, and in fact, the C1.5 zone, which is what this refers to, allows uses that are very similar and much more intensive, including theaters that allow 3,000 people, different restaurants without entertainment, and so on. So that was the basis of the findings which I approved it on, and which was sustained by the APC and recommended by Plum.
And colleagues, and I will conclude. What I heard from so many people in the emails and letters that I received and the public hearings, again, both sides, but mostly what I heard was this was a place where people could play music, whereas a place where budding artists could get together, where people could go. They don't serve alcohol. It is a place that is limited in its time. And in fact, when they first came to us, we were told, I think it was by the city attorney at the time, if they became a membership club during that period of time, they would be within the current and existing laws, and in fact, they did that. So I think it is part of an infrastructure in our city where we do encourage that creative talent. We will be making sure that they trash all the other things that have been brought up by the community are addressed on an ongoing basis by the neighborhoods. But I think it is a wonderful place that is welcomed by quite a few people in the city and in the community, and would ask for your denial of the appeal today, which would be approving the Plum Committee recommendations.
Thank you, Ms. Gruhl. Council Member Zine? Okay, it's passed. Okay, seeing no more council members who wish to speak, motion before us is to deny the appeal. Open the roll. Tally the vote.
12 eyes.
Okay, 12 ayes. That item has passed as the motion was recommended. Next item on the agenda,
Next item is item number 36, and that was called special by Councilmember Padilla.
Councilmember Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, item 36, just like item 35, is a planning item. We do have several members of the community here, I believe, on both sides of the issue. If we can reopen public hearing for no more than a total of 10 minutes, so 5 minutes max on each side, and then we have our police department officials here to speak on the item after public comment.
We can have the officers sit down at the table or front row, wherever you like. Meanwhile, we'll have the speakers come forward, 5 minutes for each side. We have Jonathan Shire. Jonathan, please come forward. We have Moseo Bardoide and Cynthia Howard.
I'm going to make a motion.
Hold on a second. Cynthia, for, against. We have the people going against first, please. We have Claudia Hernandez, Patricia Zaragoza. Okay. Will those people please state your name and proceed?
Is this for or against the appeal?
The against. First.
Against the appeal.
Against. Please state your name, and we're going to give the against 5 minutes. Please proceed.
My name is Cynthia Howard. I'm against the appeal. I happen to be the owner of the mobile home park community that surrounds the liquor store that's in question here. My father actually built this mobile home park, so we've been involved in this property for obviously over 50 years. It is an issue because what has happened over the years, as you know, or have heard, that recently that gang members have been known to hang out there. There have been all kinds of other indigents and so forth, so that this being the only ingress and egress, the only way in and out of the park is directly by this liquor store. And we've had numerous incidents where these children going to the elementary school across the street or to their schools have had to go by individuals who are urinating on walls or doing other things. There have been, one woman was caught in a crossfire of a gunshots at one time and had to get down on the floor of her car, was not injured, thank God. And bullet holes have been found shot into the park. It is not a safe place with this kind of liquor activity. It is not the laundromat or the nail salon that is bringing these people here, and we'd like to keep this neighborhood safe. We have older people and families, many children, and the elementary school is directly across the street. That's my concern, is to protect the members of my community there. Thank you.
Next speaker, please state your name.
My name's Patricia Zaragoza. I'm one of the managers of Shelter Isle Mobile Homes. We have 260 families on which are a lot of seniors and siblings. Our only concern is the customers that Leon's Liquors attracts. We often see people urinating on the walls while children are walking through to get to school. Loud music at the day and night, smell of marijuana, argument between rival gangs, and sometimes they come to our office asking us to use our bathrooms. We believe that this establishment could be safer if they change their hours of operations by opening later, close earlier, and having security guard during the business hours. I brought some residents' letters with me with this same petition. I don't know if I can give them to you. Thank you.
You can give those to the sergeant, and they'll submit them for the record. Thank you. Please state your name.
Good afternoon, Claudia Hernandez. I'm also one of the managers over at the Shelter Isle Mobile Home Estate. We've been witness of many things happening by the liquor store: shootings, graffiti, sales of drugs, public urination. This has also affected our residents. We've had residents shot at, cars shot at shot at their cars, and many mothers have complained about public urination while they're walking their children to school, where they have to cover their eyes. When things like this happen, the normal thing to do would be to do something to make this a safer place. The owner of our mobile home park has done so by placing privacy gates at the entrances, surveillance cameras. We have hired a patrolling company to come and patrol the system. The only request we have is if we're doing our share in protecting our residents, we also expect our neighbors to do the same thing, since our own residents are their customers also. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the speakers who are against the appeal. Now we will open it up for the people who are here and filled out cards who are appealing and are for the appeal. Please state your name for the record.
Good afternoon, members of the council. Moses Bar David, on behalf of the appellate. We went over many of the same aspects at the last hearing in front of the Plum, but I would like to point out that most of the issues that arise in this matter arose from an 88 findings with regards to a conditional use permit. The conditional use permit did not come up since from 1988 until this year. In 2004, actually October 2004, new owners took over the liquor store, added cameras, added a patrol unit, and have necessarily cleaned up the liquor store to a great degree. We were able to collect over 400 signatures from residents of the neighborhood and supply them to the council at the earlier hearing to demonstrate the support that the neighborhood is now giving, the actual support, the actual signatures we have in support of the liquor store. My clients, the appellates, do not have a problem with following certain requirements that would make the liquor store a safer place for the neighborhood. The big issue here is that the council, the Zoning Planning Commission, has requested or has issued a demand that a full-time security guard be posted on the premises during all working hours. We already have a patrol that patrols the area 3 times a day. That patrol costs approximately $230 a month. A private security guard on premises, full-time, is going to cost the owners of the store between $6,000 and $7,000 additional per month, making the store unusable. There will be no profit. It's a $15 to $12 per hour requirement for a private security guard to be on the store. The requirements, the requirements of the Zoning Commission is to demonstrate that the requirements that they're going to impose on the store are not so onerous as to disallow the continuous use of the store. This security guard, at full times, at all times, will make the store unprofitable, unusable, and therefore will require the close down of a convenience store, which members of the neighborhood have spoken and have been willing to support in this matter. I would like to point out that reading through the original public hearing notes, the council district office recommended that the on-site security guard be posted between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. only. They did not request a full-time security guard at all times. Furthermore, it was also recommended by the other members that spoke that a security guard be present on the site preschool and after school hours, namely between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. and after 3 p.m. What we are requesting is if the council is still intent on requiring a full-time security guard, that they look at their own testimony and not impose a security guard that will be there 15 hours a day when they didn't request it in the first place. Every single hour which a security guard is required is an additional $15 times 30 days, which will make the store unmanageable and unusable. I put this under your consideration, and I will allow the others to speak.
Thank you.
Hi, council
Please
members.
state your name for the record.
My name is Jonathan Shin, and I'm the cousin of the owner. And then what I would like to say is that last year and a half, I've been working with the city of Pasadena police officers and nuisance liquor stores, and I've been finding the law and associated with the getting involved with all the business owners, and I've been recognized by city of Pasadena. But they awarded me for being a good citizen and voluntary. I did all these things. Okay, and then another thing is that since we took over the business, we've been working with everybody, putting a camera system, satisfying guarantee for all customers. And we got rid of the bad videos, all the stuff that's bad for the kids, because there's school around there and all that. So we're working with the community. And what I'm trying to do is that in the future, there's approximately 8 liquor stores surrounding within a mile distance. They sell beer and all that. So what I'm trying to do is maybe get all the owners together and work with get rid of the 4 to 5 beers, like King Cobra, Magnum. That's a start. I'm working for the better of the business, better of the neighborhood. And just that we've been working with every customer, every business people, so make it better for the residents. And this kind of complaint, there's not even one report saying that our store caused a problem since we took over the business. If you have any problem, you ask any Pasadena Police Department, Jonathan Shin, what I done for the city of Pasadena. 25 years, they couldn't find the 4 to 5 beer and the nuisance around the store. I got every business people together and I resolved it for a year and a half, and he's been clean throughout the whole Pasadena. Remember that, Councilman. Ask any police officer in the city of Pasadena. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes public comment on this item. Councilmember Padilla.
Thank you very much. Before I make my motion and comments, colleagues, I'm glad that the last speaker said to ask the police department what they think, because we have them here before us. Captain Szymanski.
Thank you very much. The police department does support the conditions that have been placed on this business. The department, the community, and the council office have made great strides in reducing crime and quality of life issues in this neighborhood. The crime reduction statistics are tremendous for the Pacoima area. The number of fewer shooting victims for 2005 is fantastic. We've had 75 fewer people shot this year than last year. It's part of the strategies that we have used to reduce crime, and it's been very successful. While I support the good businesses in the community, and we all support good businesses, I do have some concerns about a business who arbitrarily decides to decide what conditions they're going to follow and what conditions that they're going to ignore. And I do have some concerns with this business deciding to change its hours of operations on its own because they felt it's in their best interest. Now, if you need some very specifics, I brought one of my investigators here, Officer Harris, who can be more specific about some of the problems at the location.
Okay. Well, let's hold on just to see if council members have specific questions. But if not, colleagues, what I'd like to do is move that we adopt the findings of the ZA as the findings of the City Council and deny the appeal filed, thereby sustaining the determination of the ZA in finding that the business has not complied with the corrective conditions. I know at root of a lot of this is this requirement to have a full-time security guard on site during hours of operations. That's the only way we're going to get our handle around the problems in and around this store. But just to paint the picture, colleagues, the location we're talking about is adjacent to a mobile home park, and we heard from several of the residents that represent the people who live in the 260 units there. So that's over 500 residents. It's directly across the street from Maclay Middle School. It is 800 feet away from one of LAUSD's newest elementary schools, and on any given day we have more than 1,600 children passing in front of this location. It is just around the corner from the San Fernando Gardens, the only public housing project in the San Fernando Valley, where because of the efforts of the LAPD and community organizing, crime is down tremendously. And I think Foothill Division leads the city in percentage crime reduction. It's also about 1,000 feet away from a Habitat for Humanity project where we're building 64 homes for needy families. Clearly, colleagues, we've put a lot of work into reducing crime in this area, improving the quality of life, and adoption of the motion that I'm asking for would only help further this cause. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Padilla. Any more council members wish to speak? Okay. We'll open the roll in a few seconds. Okay. Open the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay. That item is approved as agendized. Okay.
Forthwith, please. And
That
I want to
item-
thank the captain and folks from the police department for their patience this morning. We had them waiting for a couple hours.
Thank you. Item 36 forthwith. Also, Ms. Groth, 35 forthwith? Yes. Yes, okay. Item 35 and 36 forthwith. Thank you. Next item on the agenda.
Next
Council-
item's item
If I can-
44.
If I can just interject, the police department's waiting for us to dispose. If we can reconsider 73 for a receive and file.
Okay. Reconsider item 73. Okay, open the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
Okay, that item's been reconsidered.
And then receive and
Councilmember
file.
Zine? Okay, receive and file. Okay, that item is received and filed. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda?
Item 44 was called special by Councilmember Labange.
Okay. Item 44 is before us. Councilmember
Mr.
Labange.
President, yes, is anyone here for the departments?
Okay, on item 44, any of the departments here to speak on item number 44?
Because I think this is an important issue, whether we place advertising on our city transit buses. And because I know at the MTA, they had a big challenge on that when I was on the MTA board. I don't see anybody here on this issue. Ms. Gruhl, I beg your pardon, but was this in your committee, or was it post your committee, or previous your committee? Yeah, why don't you give me this if you could?
Councilmember Gruhl?
Thank you. What this was we wanted an update from the department on the advertising on city transit buses. We had this item before the council several months ago, and the RFP had not been released. And so we asked them to expedite the release to get it moving and give us a timeline. They have put forward now a timeline that I think may be included in the report for them to go out to an RFP. That the responses from that RFP will then come back to the council
For discussion,
For
so we
discussion.
can weigh in on it.
Yes, correct.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you very much. Item number 44 is before us. Okay, open the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 eyes.
12 ayes, that item is approved. Next item on the agenda.
Item 47 was called special for cards from the public.
Okay, item number 47 is before us. We have, okay, open up public comment on item number 47. We have a public speaker card that was filled out. Lalinda Joe Wright, please come forward if you want to speak on item number 47. Ms. Wright, if you'd like to speak on both item 47 and 50, you filled out 2 cards. You're welcome to do that at this time.
Yeah, this was so important.
Thank you.
And my cousin, she wants me, I'm supposed to be helping her balance her checkbook, but hello, council members. A Midtown Country Club drive kicked off as I drove my 81-year-old cousin, Tercel, to the dentist on October 14th. A drive of unprecedented low-life coordination for AAA road service or worse. A reckless driving bazaar that extended into last weekend's Saturday night bathroom tissue fire at Mobile Mart. Not to worry, a drunk driver put the blaze out promptly with the hose of his keg. I certainly hope the tickets I saw passed out last week our officers show up so the city retains 100% of those funds. 100% of those funds. Because when a certain car makes a left turn as you go to cross the street in front of your residence with a young man with the fix-it emission reminder in his ear in hot pursuit, accelerating, aiming his car at you in broad daylight, you wonder if living with cleaners, some senior threat, anti-Semitic, gay-bashing, cross-burning Minuteman could ever be very satisfying. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you. And since we have item 50 before us, Don Lipman, please.
Thank you, Councilman Padilla. I wanted to come sooner because my main concern was agenda item 51, but beyond my control, I couldn't get here early enough, so I assume council has decided 51.
Mr. Padilla, we can reconsider 51, take it up at the same time if you'd like, so you can make comments on that.
Item
We
51 has
didn't have
been
a
previously
public
approved.
comment in committee on that, so, but it's fine, we can then just do them together after.
Is that a motion for reconsideration?
Sure.
Let's open the roll.
And my argument is the same for both.
Okay, hold on just a second here. Hold on. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 eyes.
I
Okay,
move that we
51 is now back before us.
Bring them
Go ahead.
together.
All right, I'm speaking both on both item 50 and 51. I attended and gave comment to the committee, the Housing, Community, and Economic Development Committee, and filed my objection, so it is in the record. I only have 6 copies here, but it is in the record. There is 2 items particularly I'm objecting to. The procedures for the formation and election in both of these project areas call for a business improvement district, a BID, to qualify as a candidate in the business category of the project area committee. Section 33385 small c of the Health and Safety Code states, the project area committee shall only include, when applicable, elected representatives of residential owner-occupants, residential tenants, business owners, and existing organizations within the project area. And to make my argument short, I maintain that a business improvement district would qualify as an organization, but not the definition of a business owner, even though it has business owners and all other kinds of people in the BID. The second, which I'd like you to take into consideration, the second item was that the election procedures also provide for limiting who can challenge a PAC election. And there's nothing in the redevelopment law that allows the city council to limit who can challenge. The code merely says that a challenge, there may be a challenge that must be heard within 15 days of the PAC election. And I think the appropriate place to determine a challenge would be when the city council considers the approval of the election procedures and determines whether or not challenges are valid. This limiting voters in these neighborhoods is an attempt that is similar to the Jim Crow technique used in southern states in the past to disqualify African American and Latino American voters. Doesn't seem to be appropriate. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak on those items. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. So we have 47, 50, and 51 before us. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
That is approved. We can now take up items 49 and 53 concurrently and call forward Ms. Sylvia Lynn Hawkins to address the council.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ms. Sylvia Lynn Hawkins. Or you can call me Ms. Sylvia Hawkins. I will be speaking on number 49. We must not build these university gateway projects with law firms, Fox and Shingang legal services only. We must hire the public people only and not contractors, builders, blueprinters, painters of firms, and private service firms only. Today's technology, computers, and online resumes, hiring is out of order, and knowing the true identity of the background of the individual being hired is false information. We must go back to hiring people that are walking in to the company business offices, to hire them with them filling out application and passing basic math exams. We must also create a 4-year term job position for all businesses, workers, professional basketball and football players, owners, and government job position workers. Thank you very much. My name is Ms. Sylvia Hawkins.
Thank you very much. This concludes public comment on these items. Members wishing to speak? Seeing none, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, those are approved. Let's now temporarily recess the regular meeting. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the special meeting.
Cardenas, Garcetti, Gruel, Han, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Sine, Padilla, 11 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. The special meeting is now in session. We have a one-item agenda. Madam Clerk?
And it's an item for which public hearing has not been held. It's Tract Mapping Council District 7.
And I do not have requests from members of the public to address the council on this item. Public hearing is open and closed. If there's no members wishing to be heard on this item, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Let's now adjourn the special meeting, return to the regular meeting, and take up the next item, please.
Next item before council is public comment on items not on council's agenda.
Okay, and the council calls forward Valinda Jo Wright and Felicia Ford for general public comment.
Hi, I'm Felicia Ford, and I am the president and founder of Woodlawn Memorial Park Foundation and Corporation. And the cemetery world has been rocked with a lot of desecration. And I want to also address the issue pertaining to your metro system that in the news here recently with regards to using this part of the cemetery, digging up part of the cemetery for your metro system. I first want to start by saying, too, our children have been bruised, wounded, and killed in this war that exists today, and their stripes have brought grief to many family members, and their stripes also have brought safety and peace for this world we live in. What do you say to these family members and others when they have lost so much? Their loved ones have been dug up and thrown in the trash can, all for a profit, and the attorneys have lined their pockets off of the dead. They have destroyed many of our cemeteries, which have been Woodlawn, Lincoln, Angelus Abbey, and Paradise, and all of us have been affected by these cemeteries. You are now building a metro system on part of the property of Evergreen. Mr. Wong owns Evergreen, and he is the owner of Woodlawn Cemetery, of desecrating our family members. My membership consists of 4,000 family members, and we are outraged and angry at the continued disrespect and desecration of our loved ones throughout the county of Los Angeles, even though they're in individual cities. But yet and still, if you've ever lost a loved one, would you want them to be dug up and thrown in the trash can, all for a profit? I don't know about any of you, but I live by hope every day. And hope is forgiveness for the past. Hope is respect that we love one another. Hope is respect for the burial places and giving dignity to our loved one's final resting place.
May I ask you to conclude, ma'am?
Hope, I'm sorry?
If I can ask you to conclude.
This is my first time at this public hearing, and I think this is very important. And you have a metro system that has dug up a cemetery. And, you know, I don't know how I can wrap up my comments to say that the sorrow and the grief of doing so to a wide range of our family members perhaps goes beyond what all of you are feeling. I think perhaps the appropriate thing to do, and that is to hold a press conference and let the family members express their anger. Many of these cemeteries, I can tell you, I've been dealing with the President of the United States. He has responded to me, along with the Justice Department, along with the Attorney General's office. And I want to say the President of the United States and his staff responded to me less than 30 days. and this city council is telling me to wrap up my emotions for helping a wide range of people that the government of the state of California was supposed to help, and I have spent over $400,000 of my money to help them, my time shouldn't be limited.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. President, ma'am, if you would
Mr.
just
Labange.
wait for a minute, please. Afterwards, maybe we could have someone from the legislative analysis staff. This is in the 14th Council District, and Evergreen is on the goal line extension in that area. Is that correct?
And it used to be Villaraigosa's area.
Correct. Okay, so we got it right. So if you could just hold tight, because we'd like to assist you in some way, and I know the MTA is involved in that as well.
I was there yesterday, too.
Thank
and
you so much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. And we appreciate you being here, ma'am. We have heard you. Based on California law, we cannot act on matters brought to our attention during general public comment. You're always free to revisit us and submit testimony in writing. But as Mr. Labange has done, we're trying to get staff to speak with you and assist you as quickly as possible. Thank you, Mr. Labange. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Well, council has motions for posting and referral,
Motion shall be posted and referred.
and that would clear the desk, but I understand there's a special coming.
Understand there is a special item that has come through.
I
Do we have a
believe-
special one, or are we going straight to special two?
I haven't seen a special one.
Okay, let's go to special two. Ms. Han?
We're doing a Rule 23, right?
Yes.
Colleagues, what's before us today is a Rule 23 because, you know, the federal act, No Child Left Behind, allows for free tutoring of students in LAUSD, free tutoring. And the deadline to sign up for that was October 15th. And because there was such a low enrollment, and the school district felt like there was a lot more kids out there that probably could take advantage of free tutoring, that the deadline was extended to November 15th, which is why they've come to us to ask if we might pass a resolution today encouraging our city facilities and our city departments to help the school district in notifying kids all over the city of Los Angeles that this is available, free tutoring. As you know, there's a lot of kids probably in your districts that could qualify for this, and it's a shame to let this lapse, which is why we're doing a Rule 23 today. We just found out about this. The school district had asked us to partner with them in just making the notification to all of our cities, maybe in some of our after-school programs, maybe at some of our city facilities, that we could pass out flyers, making sure that all kids, if they qualify, there's free tutoring, and why wouldn't we want to do that? So that's what's before us today. I hope you'll support this effort to help the school district announce and notify that kids can have this free tutoring.
Thank
Okay.
you, Ms. Han. Let's first open the roll on the findings. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
Okay. And on the motion itself,
Okay.
let's,
After I vote.
let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
Okay, that's approved. We'll send that forthwith. Next item, please.
The desk is clear, Mr. President.
Okay, colleagues, it's the end of our agenda. Do we have any announcements today? Announcements? Do we have adjourning motions today?
Can I make an announcement?
Ms. Han?
We're going to start ITA at 1:30.
Mr. Labange?
Arlo Guthrie is going to be out at UCLA tonight, and I'd like to ask Bill Rosendahl, who is a personal friend of Arlo, who is the great son of the legendary Woody Guthrie, one of my heroes.
Leventhal is the big story, who passed away a couple of weeks ago. We all adjourned in his honor. He was Arlo's manager for 40 years. Arlo will be performing tonight with his son Abraham at UCLA at the Royce Hall, and they're now in the process of putting a whole complex together in Massachusetts in memory of Woody Guthrie, and they're also going to have a music center there. He'll probably talk a little bit about that tonight at UCLA. It's 40 years, the Alice's Restaurant, if you think about it.
You can't get anything you wanted.
We're getting old and gray, Tommy boy. God bless Arlo.
And would you please give him the greetings of all the Los Angeles City Council, and one day invite him here so we can honor him appropriately?
I'll ask him if he'd be wanting to do that, and we'll see what he says.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just for the public's awareness, very important meeting with MTA, the 3 meetings for the EIR for the Expo line.
Yeah.
First one is tonight, November the 2nd, Veterans Memorial Auditorium in Culver City, 4117 Overland. Tomorrow, November 3rd, the West Angeles Church on 3045 Crenshaw Boulevard. And on Wednesday, November the 9th, Exposition Park at the Annenberg Building at 700 State Drive. All of these meetings are 5 to 8 p.m.
Mr. Reyes.
Yeah, this is an exciting city when you have a football team that's rated number 1 in the nation. You have the crosstown team, undefeated, winning. Yes, they are number 5. But let's talk about how they're winning. The character, the last-minute heroics. You got to admit, those are exciting games. So you can imagine the crescendo we're going to hear on that great day. So congratulations to both teams.
Yeah, December 3rd.
Is there something happen on December 3rd?
Still got to get there. Fresno State's in the way of this.
Other announcements, colleagues? If not, do we have adjourning motions today? Please rise for adjourning motions. Ms. Hahn.
Mr. President, I'd like us to adjourn our meeting today in the honor of Frederick Ellis, who was a community activist in Los Angeles for more than 43 years. Mr. Ellis was a graduate of Morehouse College who came to Los Angeles in 1963 and was very active in the African American community, fighting for civil rights and mentoring numerous young men. He's survived by 2 daughters, Etta Marie and Roberta. Roberta works with my office in her role as the community outreach rep for new school construction for the LAUSD.
Other tributes? Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a request for a adjourning motion for Dr. Purcell Herminus Nelson. Was born in June of 1912. He joined the ministry in September of 1947. He was an employee of the LA Unified School District until his retirement, and he graduated from the California School of Theology with a bachelor's in 1986. At the age of 76, he received his doctorate in theology. Dr. Nelson received numerous awards for his faithful service at the International Pentecostal City Mission Church. In '89, he and his wife were invited to attend the inauguration of former President George Bush Sr., and he received a membership of the Senatorial Inner Circle. He was awarded the Ronald Reagan Medal of Freedom in 1999 and was featured in Who's Who in American Christian Leadership. He also is a published author by writing a book on Bible prayers analysis in 1957 and Miracles of the Bible in 1990. He passed away at the age of 93 on Saturday, October the 15th. Also, asked that we adjourn in memory of Robert Timmy, who was an expert architectural design and history buff. He served as the Dean of U.S. School of Architecture for the last 9 years. Came to USC in 1966 from the University of Houston, where he had served as a dean for more than 2 decades. He taught design and design theory. In Los Angeles, he raised $1.3 million for the long-delayed restoration of the Frank Lloyd Wright homes that had been bequeathed to USC in 1986 by the original owner. The Hollywood Hills homes, one of a handful of in Los Angeles Wright built using concrete blocks, had been deteriorating for years because USC lacked sufficient funds to renovate them. With funding from the Getty Trust, USC, the federal FEMA, he turned these crumbling houses into laboratories for USC students. He also chaired the Design Advisory Council for Los Angeles Unified School District, which in 2002 was launching an ambitious $2 million construction program. Under his leadership, he was able to encourage progressive design for 85 new campuses and organize 2 symposiums to stimulate an improved design process. He worked in the district, was cited by the American Institute of Architects, LA chapter, which is giving him the 2002 presidential citation for his leadership in raising the bar and a massive building project. He died at the age of 60 on Thursday, October 20th. The last adjourning motion I have is that recently we had, I guess last week, 6 young people that had passed away due to violence in the 8th District, and recently had a news conference. I'd like to adjourn in memory of Charles Thomas, age 34, was the victim of gunshot wounds on April 17th. Christine Tenenson, 20-year-old woman that was killed by a stray bullet on June 15th. Terry Wayne Brown, standing in front of his local store, was a victim of a homicide. He was only 18. Lois Cole, 63 years old, a victim of a stray bullet while waiting on a bus, 63 years old. Deanna McConnell, 19-year-old male, killed August 25th when suspects approached him in front of a school. And then Johnny D. Stringer was wounded in his family residence driveway on September the 1st. All of these were victims of violence in the 8th District.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Thank you all very much. This meeting is adjourned.